Hello everyone, this is Esper and we're back here on the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Hello everyone. So, I was poking around and I keep seeing things online where I'm like, unsure, because if we go in here, if I continue, it'll take us where we're at. But it has like the chapters. It shows that we're like in the final chapter. I keep seeing things that like makes it sound like there's more to it. So I was kind of looking here, and in the special content, which we've not looked at before, this one has like our achievements we've gotten so far, which is not actually that many. See, gallery, got different pictures of everyone. Different everyone in here. Like movie clips, I guess. Special trial. Back. Go back here. I do not know what it's in. Auditorium. Oh, this is like video, like audio clip stuff. Here's Taylor. This looks cool. Like you can actually like change their outfits. That looks cool. They're only available for use in the Great Ace Attorney 2 though. So I'm not sure. I've heard, I keep seeing things kind of like there's like more chapters to this maybe. I'm not sure. If so, then I'm not sure if this will be the final episode to this or not. We do have this that looks like mini episodes. So maybe this is what I was seeing instead. Maybe after the main chapters we have these to go through. I'm not sure. It's credits, we're not there yet. So, but we're gonna play and we'll see what happens. So there's a chance maybe some more chapters unlocks, I don't know. But this is should wrap up Gina's trial. But there is always the wonder of there's a few more things like Miss Sato going back to Japan and Mr. Wilson dying and all this that I wonder if they're gonna wrap up or not. But let's just jump in, we're gonna see. And at the end of this, we'll decide what we're thinking. How we're going to proceed with this. Oh yes, we found the box. It has been a couple weeks since I've got to play this. I have been unable to get to this game, unfortunately. So, here we are. I'm excited. So this is the article in question, is it? Small box deposited with the pawnbroker by Mr. McGilda 2 months ago. As usual, I'm sorry if I say something wrong. Especially today, I've been having heartburn like crazy I'm near the end of my pregnancy, and so my mouth might mess with me. But I wanted to wrap up the chapter before maternity leave happens. The small box deposited with the pawnbroker by Mr. McGilda 2 months ago. And on that night of Mr. Windybank's murder, the only item on the shelf that was touched by whoever broke into the shop. Quick, let's open it and see what's inside. Oh. Will this play the disc? Good gracious, this is no ordinary box, it seems. Wow, although in truth I had an inkling that might be the case. It would appear that the box house is a miniature music box movement. Then, is it too much to expect? I think it'd be reasonable to assume that it is a device for the playback of this disc, my lord. So, here we have the means to play back Mr. McGilda's disc deposited at Windybank's at much the same time. Not strictly correct, my lord. It's not Mr. McGilda's disc. It was the disc of his victim in the omnibus. But why? Are we to understand that the brickmaker was trying to sell this music box disc to Mr. McGilda? I believe the answer will become clear if we listen to the music on the disc, my lord. Yes, very well. Let the court now listen to this curious disc at last. Wait, my lord. Good grief, what is the meaning of this, Inspector? The music box and the disc are, well, they're unrelated to the case. No need to spoil the sombre atmosphere in the courtroom with some silly bit of music. This disc may very well have motivated the culprit in this case to commit murder. Clearly, there's every chance that it's fundamentally important to understand what happened. The prosecution has no objection. He's for it at this point. He's like, I want to know too. I like it when he gets in these moods that he helps me. He's like, hey, we're on the same side on this. But no, that piece of evidence is police property now. You can't. Clearly, Scotland Yard has some vested interest here. But it is a policy of this prosecutor to leave no avenues unexplored. And you, Inspector, have no jurisdiction here to prevent that from happening. No further delays, please. Play the disc. What on earth? That sounds like Morse code. That's certainly not what I would call music. No. It's just the same note playing over and over again in an irregular sequence. Oh. Mr. Graydon. This really is priceless. After all that, the music box is broken. Broken? It can't be, can it? Well, obviously. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the officer sent to fetch it and drop it on the way back to the courtroom. Well, with much regret, I feel the court must accept that this box offers little in the way of clues. Are you ready to move on, counsel? Come on. Yes, alright. It does sound as though it's completely broken, but is it? Could this music emanating from the music box possibly be a new clue? I think it could be. I believe that it could be relevant, my lord. But how can it be? It's an abomination, counsel. Mere noise. I fail to see how it could have meaning whatsoever. This sounds strange, I agree. But there's one thing bothering me. While Graydon stands there chortling victoriously, the inspector beside him has a rather telling expression on his face. It's as if Gregson recognizes the sound, as if he's familiar with it somehow. That making him appear extremely on edge. If that's the stance of the defense, my Nipponese friend, answer me this. Oh. So what relevance do you propose this woeful chiming has on this case? It's the defense's belief that the sound emanating from this music box is not supposed to be music. I think it's Morse code. It'll be my guess. Just because this is a music box, it doesn't necessarily mean the sounds we're hearing are music. Look at that. The smile vanished from Graydon's lips as soon as I said it. I'm on the right line here. It must be. Making deduction based on how people react to what you say? You're acting like Hurley, Runo. Objection! The sounds we're hearing aren't necessarily music. Well, now that you've told us that, what they are not, I'm sure the court would like to hear what they are. Do enlighten us, my Nipponese friend. Well, surely you have an idea in mind, because if not, it will be the death of your ill-formed argument. Exactly. The music box is clearly broken. Refusing to accept that fact is pure foolishness. They got me. I don't know what the answer is yet. I'm Runo. I've just examined the music box very thoroughly. And I'm fairly certain that it is not broken at all. Really? Really? The way it's been made, it can only produce a single note anyway. Thank you, Iris. Alright, well, if the music box isn't broken, must mean that the sound it's producing have some significance that isn't musical. Morse code. Ah. Could it be that... Is that what these sounds are? Something just struck me, Bruno. I feel like recently, in the past few hours even, I've heard another sound very much like this one this music box makes. Yes, it is a familiar sound. Actually, Iris, unfortunately for them, it has been over 2 weeks since I've played this. I do not remember. So hopefully we remember as we go. Actually, Iris, I was just thinking exactly the same thing. I'm going to have to press the defense for an answer. In your assertion in that sound is that the sound produced by the music box is not in fact music at all, then what the devil is it, Council? All the evidence we've seen so far, all the testimonies we've heard, it's all pointing to one single answer now. Please make it multiple choice. Prosecution demands that my learned Nipponese friend presents proof now. Also, I'm going to say sorry, I'm coughing a bit. My throat is bothering me again, unfortunately. Hopefully, during my maternity leave, I'll be able to get some, a tonsil removal done during this time, and hopefully I'll heal up, and hopefully things will be better with my throat to do games like this in the future. The prosecution demands that my learned Nipponese friend presents proof now. Tangible proof of this latest wildest speculation. Drat. It's gonna make me actually pick. Alright then. This could be the best chance I'm going to get to fight back in this trial. If I'm right, it's gonna join all the dots together. The evidence that explains the true nature of the sounds of this music box is... Oh no. Oh no, no, no. I'm trying to think. Oh no, I have no idea. True nature of the sounds on this music discs. I have no idea. Oh no. Pawnbroker ticket. This was something that was before the pawnbroker. So it wouldn't have been something then. Mm-hmm. I have no idea. Have we even looked at this paper? There's a sensational story lower down the front as well. Look, Mr. Mole, classified secrets may have been leaked overseas from the Ministry of Justice. For a 10-year-old, Iris certainly has her fingers on the pulse of world news. It's about secret communications between Great Britain and its allies. Apparently, they're being intercepted by hostile nations. Missions are being intercepted. How would someone be doing that? That's the question, isn't it? I've come up with 3 different possible methods so far. Are you looking for a new career, Runo? No, of course not. I wonder, perhaps this is what Lord Strongheart was talking about yesterday. Yes, it could be. And it could explain why he had Gregsy running pillar to post at the moment. Oh. Maybe this is it. Okay. We're gonna present the paper.
Take that!
Today's paper, Council. The headline is Pawnbroker perishes in the pick-purchase plunder. Hardly supportive of your cause. No, my lord. I was hoping you'd look a little further down on the page. Further down? Ministry Mole. Classified secrets may have been leaked overseas from Ministry of Justice. Yes, this is a very serious matter being investigated at the highest level, I understand. I've heard that this international transmission along supposedly secured lines are somehow being intercepted and leaked to various other countries. And presumably those transmissions are in the form of wired telegrams. Of course. GR number 5, your input please. Stop. Oh, me, sir? Whatever's the matter? You told me at the court before that you worked at the same communication station as Mr. Gregson, did you not? Yes, that's correct. And the particular station where you work deals with government communications and newspaper reports. Oh, yes? We're not your run-of-the-mill communication station at all. Our work is extremely important. Then tell me, is this not a very familiar sound? You don't mean to say, is it? That's right, madam. It bears more than a passing resemblance to the sound made by your telegraph machine as you tap it. I believe it's called Morse code. Ha! Guessed it. But I don't believe it. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but when it comes to leaking telegrams from government departments, there could be nobody more perfectly placed than a highly skilled communications officer. Are you suggesting that the music box disc contains stolen government secrets in Morse code? Order, order, order! Please, everyone. Order! But this is high treason, Council, deserving of capital punishment. Too much new vocabulary. What is treason? What is capital punishment? The sort of words I half expect you to know. For our sovereign government's confidential information, hostile nation would surely pay almost any price. Yes, and on that night 2 months ago, that was the very negotiation that was taking place inside the omnibus. But in the end, McGilden perished, and the all-important disc lay unclaimed in the pawnbrokery. My word. In which case, whoever stole that information in the first place must surely have been beside himself with worry. Because if the disc were to be discovered before it found its way out of the country, it would reveal an act of high treason punishable by death. So the culprit had no choice but to retrieve it. In order to do that, he would have to gain entry to the pawnbroker illegally in the middle of the night. Because the article left behind by Mr. McGilden would incriminate him too much if it got into the wrong hands. Isn't that right, Mr. Graydon? You think I've been stealing government secrets? Preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. So, in response to the defense accusation, you claim complete innocence, do you? Well, of course I do. I've had to stand here in silence whilst that pretentious foreign lawyer been prattling away.
Objection.
Uh-oh. He's on my side now. Then by all means, counter the charges, sir. I like it when he gets this way. I do. We're both hitting him. The prosecution demands the witness testifies in response to the accusations brought by the defense. Delighted, I'm sure. The witness is reminded that the crime under scrutiny in this trial is the murder of the pawnbroker, Mr. Windybank. That being a most flagrant offense, for which the law of this land sanctions a capital punishment. But the heinous crime of high treason is no less serious a crime. I urge you to bear that in mind as you testify, Mr. Graydon. So then, let us proceed. You may. You gotta let us have a rabbit and pork here, Governor. We got things to say. I beg your pardon. Who do you think you are? My name's Nash Skulkin. Occupation is professional baddie. My name's Ringo Skulkin, but we ain't baddies enough to sell out our motherland. That's right. We're what they call the Three Skulkin Brothers. Bad timing, fellas. Very bad timing. A mere communications officers couldn't possibly steal confidential government information. Besides, the sounds produced by that music box aren't even Morse code. It was some low-class brickmaker negotiating with McGilden anyway, was it not? No relation to the men. Look, all we done is breaking the gaff the other night like we told you to do. If we'd known there was dodgy government secrets involved, we wouldn't have touched it. Uh-oh, they're gonna go against him now. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin? One Mr. Do, Governor. What up? Do I take it that you're now admitting to the crime? That on the night in question you did indeed gain entry to the premises illegally? And moreover, you did so as a party of 3 in collaboration with Mr. Graydon here? We did, Gov, we did. They're ratting out Graydon. Quiet down, please. What say you that, Mr. Graydon? I have no idea what these 2 ruffians are referring to. You little rotter, getting us mixed up in all this monkey business. You never said nothing about government secrets. It was supposed to be a straight-up job. And what about the geezer whose shop it was, eh? Poor old bloke didn't have to die, did he? Ugh. Nice to know who your friends are. Whatever these men say, I deny the accusation. Indeed. Well, I certainly wasn't expecting this little music box to become so significant in the proceedings. However, as it has, I'll admit it to the court record as evidence. Okay. Cross-examination. A mere communication officer could possibly steal confidential government information? Oh, really? So, is this newspaper headline accurate? Government communications are being intercepted. How could I possibly know? What do you mean by that? Any important government communications are handled by high-level officers, by specialists. General members of staff in the station where I work would never be entrusted with sensitive information. Oh no, stop. Must say something, stop. Let me guess. Juror number 5. We regular communication station officers aren't as lowly as you're being led to believe. A team of us are responsible for setting up and testing the telegraphs used by the ministry. Mr. Graydon is the team leader. That's fascinating. Graydon is highly skilled operator. Stop. Currently in presence of idols. Stop. So you have access to the equipment used for these confidential communications, Mr. Graydon. Well, what of it? The transmissions are always made behind closed doors so they can't be heard. In any case, all messages are sent encrypted. Normal employees couldn't possibly understand them. Oh no, stop. Must say something, stop. I'm glad she's here. She's helping. Mr. Graydon regularly attends meetings with ministry technicians and ministry communications team. He insists them in ensuring that there's no errors in important international communications. He's received the top prize of the Ciphering Cracking Convention 5 years in a row now. That's fascinating. We're just gonna tear him apart is what we're doing. Graydon is highly skilled operator. Stop. Currently in presence of idle. Stop. Well, your idol would appreciate it if you'd keep your mouth shut. She should really pick her idols more carefully. I'll tell you this. Lawyers' accusations are completely unfounded. Besides, the sound produced by that music box aren't even Morse code. They're not. To anyone with a brain, that would be blatantly apparent. I'm listening to that music box for even a few seconds. Of course, of course. Surely it can't be that my learned friend is unfamiliar with Morse code. Ouch. He looks generally shocked at my ignorance. I'd be more happy to demonstrate the basics for you, sir. A lesson? Here in the court? Morse code is a continuous series of 2 distinct notes. Tones, you say? Yes, a short dot and a long dash. By combining those in different ways to construct letters. I see. For example, this is an A. This is a B. But when you listen to the sound produced by the music box, you only hear one tone, don't you? But it does sound so familiar. The rhythm of it is the same in everything. But there's no discernible meaning to this apparent and random sequence of sounds. So your assertion is fundamentally flawed. This is not Morse code. Okay, so I was wrong too. Not Morse code. Really, you should be surprised. What did I tell you? Music box is nothing but a worthless piece of scrap. Perhaps you might consider studying your subject matter before casting aspirations in the future. Stop. Nothing to say, but stop. Oh, it's so frustrating, isn't it? Iris? I mean, if the government secrets are somehow being leaked using the music box, so many other things would slide into place so nicely. But there'd still be something I haven't considered. Would it really be impossible to use this music box somehow to play back Morse code? Let's give it a try. There's still every possibility that this music box was instrumental in the leaking of government secrets. My mouth is not working. That's the belief of the defense, at least. Does it please you in some way, my Nipponese friend? Repeating the same line of argument ad infinitum? It's already been established that to be Morse code, 2 dots are required. Dots and dashes. Yes, I'm well aware of that. Then what? Well, it would appear the defense has a hypothesis to put forward. No, I don't. You'd better present your idea at once, counsel. How do you propose that this music box, which appears to produce only a single tone, could have been used to cipher secret messages into Morse code? Oh, what is it, Runo? I've just noticed something about this music box. Looks like the bottom of it opens up as well. Ah, you're right. Well, come on then. What are you waiting for? Let's open it. Alright then, here goes. Look at that. There's another movement on the other side. So does that mean you can set another disc to play on this side? Yes, I think so. So one side's dots, the other side's dashes. Looks like the 2 movements are linked together. They're linked? So if you had 2 discs, they would both play back at the same time.
Got it.
Good gracious, what am I looking at here? Another movement on the other side of the music box. What? It appears, my lord, that the 2 movements are linked together. In other words, you can put 2 discs in the music box, and the sounds of both will play back at the same time. Good heavens. As the court has heard, Morse code comprises of 2 tones, a short dot and a long dash. With the second disc in place, this music could be used to generate Morse code and convey a message. He wanted 2 discs. He thought there was a second one there. This is beyond a joke. I'm sorry? This poor excuse for a lawyer has absolutely no evidence to support his claims. Though, of course, if my learned friend were able to present the court with the second disc, that would be another matter. Well, I can't at the moment. May I remind the court that, as the witness has pointed out, it was not the one in the omnibus with McGilden 2 months ago striking a deal of the discs. Indeed, that was Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. Exactly. I had nothing whatsoever to do with it. Although it has holes, I must admit the argument presented by the defense has much promise. I believe the cross-examination should continue. The link between Graydon and the victim of the omnibus case must be there somewhere. I haven't found it yet. Oh dear, it looks like you need to give your argument more strength, Runo. You'll reiterate your testimony if you please, Mr. Graydon. If I must, though, I maintain exactly where I did at the start of the pointless cross-examination. It was some low-level brickmaker negotiating with McGilden anyway, was it not? I have no relation to the man. So 2 months ago in the omnibus, McGilden killed the brickmaker and stole the disc. Mr. Mason was a single man with almost nothing to his name. It seems he lived in an artisan quarter some years ago, but people there remembered little about him. That doesn't make much sense though, does it? How would a humble brickmaker come to acquire secret government information? How indeed. There must have been somebody else involved behind the scenes in all this. Somebody who acquired the disc and gave it to Mr. Mason in order to take it to the meeting with McGilden and negotiate a deal. Dear me. You may have it in for me, sir, but I assure you I am far more class than that. An old brickmaker from an artisan quarter and his well-to-do communications officer. If only I could find some evidence to link the 2 of them together. If you have nothing more to add to the note, let us return to the witness testimony. Look, all we done bringing in the gaff the other night like what we was told to do. Like Mr. Graydon told you to do, you mean? That's it, yeah. Who else, eh? Silly me thought we was just popping over for a natter after these years, but the broader had a dodgy job for us. Ash. Let me stop you there, Mr. Skulkin. After all them years, you say? Do you mean to tell me that Mr. Graydon is an acquaintance of yours? We're the sociable kind of baddies, you know? Sure, let's say Graydon's an old China.
Excuse me.
Is something wrong, Mr. Skulkin? No, the other Mr. Skulkin. What? Who, me? When your brother was testifying just now, he said something that seemed to cause you to react. Oh, I was just remembering the old days, that's all. We used to have a right old laugh together way back when. Together? With Mr. Graydon, you mean? Yeah, with Ash, I mean. You look at it now, and I'm now in his fancy whistle and fluting you when Adam and Eve it. Even when he was younger, he was from a poor part of town just like us. Is that so? But he was always a leery one. He had the brains, he had the savvy. Always coming up with smart ideas like what would never have gone through our heads. Oh, blimey, ain't that the truth? Remember Milverton and Skulkin's milk run? That was a cooker, huh? Save it until after the trial. Your reminiscing has no place in the courtroom. And neither does your fruit. Why? The geezer asked us a question, didn't he? And we was answering. Yeah, we ain't done nothing wrong. Nevertheless, the court is not prepared to accompany you on your trip down memory lane. He's getting after them about fruit while he's over there keeps drinking and throwing wine everywhere. Counsel, can we turn our attention back to the testimony, please? I don't know. Could that sentimental story be relevant somehow? Let's add it. My lord. Yes, Counsel? The brother's last sentimental statement could hold vital information related to this case. Very well, Counsel. I'll permit the brothers to supplement their testimony with that detail. Briefly, I hasten to add. Say no more. Skulkin's never skulkin'. Milverton, Skulkin's Milk Run. Gordon were the days.
Hold it!
Hello, Wear Machine. Glad to have you on the stream. I see a bunch of hydrates coming in. Thank you. Got all those in. How have you been today? I'm sure I'm going to regret asking, but what exactly was that? Some kind of business? Tanker and you say that I should hydrate? I should hydrate, yes. I've had a bad batch of heartburn today from being pregnant, so it's always good for me to take a few drinks here for sure. Just a little scheme we had going back when we was youngsters. A bit of fun, really. Delivering fresh milk to the locals, that's what it was all about. That sounds alarmingly legitimate. There must be a catch. I suppose since we're here, I should ask them to elaborate, but on what? So, how did your little business work exactly? Well, every morning down our way, the milkman would come with his cart to deliver milk, see? If you stuck your empties outside your front door, we would leave them and then full again, right? So, we swooped in on the action, got people signed up with us. We promised to deliver milk for half the price on the other geezers doing it. People couldn't wait to sign on dotted line. We were raking in, and we were. So, did you live on a dairy farm or something? Gordon Bennett, are you off your rocker? We had nothing. We were too poor to have a farm. Right. Nah, what we had going was simply once you had the idea, we just switch them over, see? Our customers emptied with the full ones from anyone who wasn't on our books. A dawdle, right? I think you meant to say a diddle. That's a crime. It was just an harmless bit of fun, that's all. Milking the general public in such a fashion is most certainly not harmless, as you put it. Well, it was. I'm what came up with the idea. Ash is the evil genius. You mean Mr. Graydon? Yeah, Ash always had him in his head in the book when he was growing up. Said he was going to get himself an education and get out of them slums we lived in. Of course, we all ragged him about that, didn't we? Told him we was soft in the head for even thinking it. Look at him now. He's only gone and become a blinking communication officer, ain't he? Communications officer, Mr. Skulkin? Chalmers and Wilson's milk run. No, Iris, don't even think about it. Bad girl. Don't think about that. All of a sudden, we seem to be up to our necks in a serious matter of national security. Although all this talk about interception of secret government messages is still just conjecture at this stage. It would explain a number of things, though, wouldn't it? The negotiation Jenny overheard at the omnibus 2 months ago and the break-in at Windybanks. But the trouble is, it wasn't Mr. Graydon in the omnibus with Mr. McGilden. No, that was Mr. Mason, the brickmaker, who was so horribly murdered. If only there was some link between the two men somehow. I know, but Mr. Graydon's testimony seems to be as watertight as ever. I wonder if the key to us making headway with the cross-examination here could be those two brothers. A mere communications officer couldn't possibly steal confidential government information. Okay, I pressed on all these. I want to look here. Can I? Let's see here. I wanted to see pictures. I'm curious. I wonder if he's like the dad. Maybe he was his dad. They're both blonde. I wonder if that's what it was. I wonder if that was his dad. We'll have to see if that's the right, if that's the link though. Okay. Let's see here. That's code. No relation to the man. Okay, so we didn't press on this one yet. So did you know nothing about this? Know nothing about this music box? We didn't know nothing. We still don't know nothing. We ain't planning to know nothing about it either. But 2 nights ago, you didn't indeed break into Windy Bank's pawnbrokery, didn't you? In your original testimony, you said that the door of the shop was ajar and that it was like some kind of sign begging you to go in. But the truth is, you were planning to break into Windy Banks all along, weren't you? We were, Gov. We were. You're right there. Because that's what he told us to do. It was his plan. And why was it Mr. Graydon's plan to break into Windy Banks at night? Did you not ask the reason? Well, he said the place would be full of stuff worth nigging. That's what he told us beforehand anyway. Turned out it was a little cobblers, didn't it? I weren't best pleased, I can tell ya. In any case, if they know the real reason, it doesn't sound like they were going to give it away. What should I... Let's press this one again and ask him about the... There was a second option here. What's the catch? So this business was just a bit of fun, you say? And it was just yourselves and Mr. Grayson involved? Yeah? What's it? Milverton and Skulkin's milk run, was it? Yeah, that's it. And where did the Milverton part come from? Oh, right. I thought clever clogs like you would have worked that one out. That is... Enough of this. How much longer are we expected to listen to this drivel? I don't... Let me guess. You don't accept anything these 2 witnesses are saying. It's his actual last name. Tell me, why is it that it was only at the mention of the name Milverton that you decided to interject? Because well... It weren't the happiest it won't come from. Yeah, his old man was struggling for money so much, his wife walked out on him. He took the name Graydon then, see? Ash will always be Milverton to us. Milverton. So that used to be your surname, did it? Of course not. This is all bunkum. I've been a Graydon since I was born. Do you really think you can rely on the testimony of these 2 thieves, You're a communications officer attached to the civil service. As such, your personal details will have been thoroughly checked at the time of your appointment. It would be a very simple matter indeed to subpoena these records, Mr. Graydon. Ugh. Well, it would appear that Mr. and Mr. Skulkin's testimonies has been reliable for once. You were born Ashley Milverton, then. Is that correct? Very well, yes. So Ashley Graydon was once Ashley Milverton. We keep learning about all these lies. Mr. Egg Benedict here has said his name keeps changing on us. I still prefer the Egg name. That information could change things. Could turn out to be extremely important. Ashley Graydon. All of a sudden, we seem to be up to our necks in a serious matter of national security. Okay. Can I look? Okay, eating people. That's what I want. Can I not see? I can't see everyone. It doesn't show me all the characters. Yeah, we need to come with a link. Generate node. Nope, no. I want to look at that. No, not that. Can't read it. No. There it is. Mason Milverton. His last name is that. Okay. Okay, we got our link. I was gonna say, I thought I was gonna guess that they were connected. Okay.
Objection.
Mr. Ashley Milverton, tell me, why did you try to hide your former name from the court? Because I haven't gone by that name for years. It means nothing to me. No, I don't think that's the real explanation at all. The truth is, you had a reason to hide the name. Explain yourself, please, counsel. I have here the notes from the omnibus case, my lord. And as we all know, the victim, the man who we now understand had been negotiating with Mr. McGilden. Yes, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. That's right, only Mason wasn't his surname at all. It was his given name. His full name was Mason Milverton. Milverton? Do you mean to say? Saints alive. Mr. Ashley Milverton. Is it not the case that the brickmaker, Mr. Mason Milverton, was your father? Ugh, I don't... As I believe I mentioned earlier, your family history will have been thoroughly checked when you join the civil service. And it really would take no time at all for the court to subpoena those records. The truth is, you've been illegally acquiring highly confidential government information and selling it to the McGildens in collaboration with your father. Ah. The new facts and evidence unveiled by the cross-examination of this witness all come together to reveal the truth. The truth, you say? That you collaborated with your father, Mr. Mason Milverton, in illegal dealings with Magnus McGilden. By dint of this music box, you mean, counsel? Yes, stealing information, being sent in secret government communications, and selling it to the McGilden. Mr. Graydon concocted this elaborate scheme of using 2 music box discs to encode the information. As, presumably, a safety measure against the information falling into the wrong hands. And a very effective one. I shouldn't have given the scheme any credence whatsoever. But the deal with McGilden went sour, and the brickmaker met his end. Yes, but before he was arrested, McGilden managed to temporarily dispose of the stolen disc at the pawnbroker. Then, having learned of the situation, you appeared at the Windybanks 2 days ago, in an attempt to recover the 2 articles McGilden had placed in pawn there. But the attempt failed. One of the discs was seized by the police, and the other you never found. But that same night, you enlisted the help of the Skulkin brothers and broke into the pawnbrokery. This time, determined to recover the second disc. Are you suggesting that the second disc was inside the music box? We never knew nothing about it. On the night that Mr. Windybanks was killed. The intruder at the pawnbrokery touched one item and one item alone. The music box. As rather ingeniously demonstrated using the two prints from the security camera indeed. So, the question that naturally begs answering is this. Why was only one of the articles disturbed? The answer is obvious. Because it contained the second disc, which the intruder was desperate to retrieve. Since, if it were to fall into the hands of the police, it would be proof of his high treason. Well, Mr. Graydon, do you deny that all of this actually began on that fateful night 2 months ago? I refuse to accept any of this nonsense. Come on. Come on. You are my helper now, right? Sir? There appears to be blood seeping through the sleeve of your jacket. What? Ugh. Oh yeah, he refused to let us check his arm before. 2 nights ago, we know that 3 shots were fired at the scene of the crime in Windybank's pawnbrokery. One took the life of the pawnbroker himself. One struck the pouch around Mr. Sholm's waist. And the final bullet struck the calendar on the wall of the shop, having first pierced the arm of one of the intruders. Mr. Graydon, that wound on your arm that you seem to be trying to hide is a bullet wound, isn't it? You got you now, me old China. Time to call it quits and croak, I reckon. Uh-oh. Don't acknowledge my presence there under any circumstances whatsoever. Those were my terms, remember, and I paid you handsomely to comply. Clearly, I was a fool to think I could trust some common-back slum thieves. Fine, I admit it. I was there in Windybanks that night. I paid this pair 10 guineas to accompany me, and as you've noticed, I sustained an injury in the course of my adventures. But that is all. I admit to nothing more. Stealing government secrets and negotiating with Mr. McGilded. As God is my witness, I'm sure I recall nothing of the sort. He's not going to go down without a fight, not until I can show hard evidence, I suppose. Nevertheless, the defense has now established a crucial fact. Which is? Well, we know that 1 bullet was fired from each of the 2 firearms we have in evidence. The bullet from the Skulkin brothers' gun hit the pouch around Mr. Sholm's waist. The bullet from Mr. Windybank's gun, clearly it must have been the one that caught Mr. Graydon in the arm. Indeed it must. We can rule out the possibility that the man shot himself. And that leads us to only one conclusion. Mr. Windybanks was shot by a 3rd gun, which can only have been fired by the 3rd intruder. Goodness! He got Ginny freed for murder. That's right, Mr. Graydon. You just admitted. The only person who could possibly have shot Mr. Windybanks that night is you.
Hold it.
Whose voice was that? Is it yours? Uh-oh, he's laughing. You little upstart. You made a grave mistake when you summoned me here. What? What's that supposed to mean? Yes, as you might rightly say, I was there at the pawnbrokers. I did my best to hide the fact, naturally. I had no intention of ruining the distinguished career I had built for myself at the communication station. But did the thought never cross your mind? Did you never consider the possibility? What? What do you mean? What thought? What possibility? The possibility that if I was there at the scene, I may have witnessed a crucial moment. You see? This makes me a key witness in this case, and I have my hands firmly around the neck of your client. What? Are you suggesting? I saw it all. I saw the very moment the pickpocket girl pointed the gun at the poor defenseless pawnbroker and shot him. Are you saying you shot yourself in the arm then, sir? That's what we pointed out before. You... what? Are we to assume you shot yourself? Order, order, order! Well, it would seem we are finally entering the last act of this theatrical trial. Mr. Graydon. Yes? I trust you're fully aware of the implications here. If it is shown that your claim is false, you will have incriminated yourself as the killer. Oh, I understand fully. Then I must ask you to give your formal testimony once more. You'll explain to the court precisely what you saw at the moment the defendant allegedly shot the victim. Nothing would give me greater pleasure. Now I want to hear why you think about your own arm. Whilst these ruffians were jostling with the broker, I was still near the entrance to the shop. When Windybanks threw Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. I pursued the man, but he shut himself in the storeroom. I could see him through the peephole in the door, though. The accused in the black coat shot the man in the back as he was trying to flee to safety. I saw the blood splatter all over the wretched girl. Then she tossed the gun out of the peephole, so I picked it up and made my escape. That, doesn't line up at all. Good gracious, this is quite extraordinary testimony. You claim, sir, under oath, to have clearly seen the defendant pull the trigger. Uh-huh. Order, order, order. Was it my intention to testify in this way? But neither is it my intention to be found guilty of a murder I didn't commit. So you see, my hand has been forced. I tell the truth now as an act of self-preservation. The truth? Until now, the prosecution was completely unaware of these details. Yes, well, sorry about that. Having shot me in the arm, the pawnbroker was then shot in the back by the accused. And as I said, she was showered in his blood. You say the blood splattered over the accused's coat? Are you sure on that point? Oh yes, quite sure. All over the black overcoat that pickpocket girl was wearing at the time. Really? If her coat would somehow be shown to harbor vestiges of blood, that would be conclusive evidence here. There he goes with the wine again. That sort of investigation is entirely possible, my lord. What? Only very recently, a German scientist has developed a technique to identify human blood. So, here's to true science, not some amateurish detective's dubious foray in the world of chemistry. There's nothing dubious about Hurley's work. His ideas are all sound. Ideas are no use to us here. In science, as in law, theories must be proven before they stand. In Germany, the technique has already been employed in the courtroom on a basis of evidence. Scotland Yard has a small quantity of the chemical reagent used. With our lordship's permission, we could shatter all vestige of doubt within minutes. This doesn't look good, Bruno. Why not? Well, we know, don't we, that there's blood all over the front of Ginny's coat. If they test it with their chemicals... Oh, help, you're right. Forgetting what happened yesterday. It's not... It's old blood, though. It was the brickmaker... The Mr. Mason's blood. But that's not Mr. Windybank's blood. The stain is from 2 months ago. That's Mr. Mason's blood from when he was stabbed by Mr. McGilden, who was wearing the coat at the time. My lord, the defense objects to the test proposed by the prosecution. Overruled. Lord Van Zeek, speak it so at once. With pleasure, my lord. And while we wait the results, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination. Once they find the blood on the overcoat, Ginny will be... Counsel. Yes, my lord. Your cross-examination. Of course, my lord. This cross-examination doesn't go well. If I don't manage to uncover some decisive evidence or a really compelling clue now, I have a very bad feeling about the outcome of this trial. While these ruffians were jostling with the broker, I was still near the entrance to the shop. Mr. Windybanks emerged from the storeroom, I believe. Ringo and Nash were scouring the counter when he suddenly appeared and flew at them. He already had the revolver in his hand. Fortunately, I wasn't too close. I've never been so scared in all my life. Yeah, we were just your regular mild-mannered burglars. That's all. We don't like violence. Name the pair who carry a gun. What do you mean when you say you were near the entrance to the shop? I was in the doorway, running my eyes over the shelves of forfeited items. Looking for the music box, of course. The broker went for Nash in the first place. Ringo joined in, making it 2 against 1, so I assumed they could handle the situation. But I was wrong. I was trying to help me little bro, but the old geezer chucked me over the blooming counter. So I pulled my gun on the old fella, and that soon made him scarper. Pair of you setting up the poor defenseless pawnbroker together? Shame on you. Sorry, Gov. When Windybanks threw Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. You mean that's the moment you were shot? Yes, though I didn't immediately realize what had happened, of course. Things crashed to the floor from the counter as the 3 men were brawling. It was at the exact moment that it happened, so I didn't hear the gunshot. And the bullet went on to strike the calendar wall behind you. So it appeared. When I looked at my arm, I saw it was bleeding badly, so I wrapped my handkerchief around it. Seeing as I couldn't explain what had happened to a doctor, I had no choice but to wait for it to heal. I didn't imagine it would still be bleeding 2 days later. Did Mr. Windybanks intend to shoot you, do you think? Well, now, I don't imagine he even noticed I was there, to be honest. Perhaps the gun went off accidentally. Anyway, it didn't quite strike home. When I pulled my gun on him, he tried to shove me out of the way. And then he scarped through the door out back. At which point, what did you do? I pursued the man when he shut himself in the storeroom. I could see him through the people in the door, though. You mean you chased after him? I don't recall the reason why, but I ran after him to the back of the shop. And what about this peephole in the door you mentioned? Well, unsurprisingly, the storeroom door has a solid job made of stout wood. But there's a small opening in it about head high that lets you see what in there from the outside. Actually, I should know that, shouldn't I? I looked through it myself that night. And what about you burgling brothers? Did you see what went on through this peephole as well? Not likely, Gov. Didn't see nothing of the sort, Gov. I doubt these 2 buffoons were even aware of the peephole's existence. So the Golden brothers were there, but they didn't see the killing of Mr. Windybanks take place. Inside the storeroom, I could see the broker and the young girl standing there. The defendant? Yes, though neither of them noticed that I was looking. The girl raised her gun and pointed it straight at the man. And then, what did you see next? The accused in a black overcoat shot the man in the back as he was trying to flee to safety. Yes, when the crime was discovered, the defendant was found with a gun in her hand. But that was Mr. Windybank's gun, from which only a single bullet had been fired. And as we've already established, Mr. Graydon, that bullet was fired at you. Ah, but no, it wasn't the broker's gun that the pickpocket girl had when I saw her. Yes, the bullet was from Windybank's gun, grazed my arm, and yes, the skulking gun grounded the detective, but this was another gun entirely. Third gun. The broker's gun was not the murder weapon, so clearly there had to be a third firearm involved. In other words, the accused must have had her own gun with her at the time. But no other gun was found at the scene. Calm yourself, counsel. Sorry? You must consider the events in order. At first, I saw the broker and the girl glaring at each other, but then, all of a sudden, the broker turned to run. It was at that moment that the little gutter rat shot him in the back. Chilling image, I must say. I saw the blood splatter all over the wretched girl. Oh, I missed that. Then she tossed the gun out of the people, so I picked it up and made my escape. Did I hear you correctly? She threw the gun out of the room? That's right. After the broker fell to the floor, she started walking over. Over where exactly? In the direction of the storeroom door. To where I was watching. Of course, I quickly retreated, and then the girl dropped the gun through the people onto the floor on my side of the door. But why on earth would she do such a thing? I couldn't tell you. Perhaps she was hoping to distance herself from the murder weapon. Without thinking, I went and picked it up. I suppose I was worried about just leaving it there, in case any more tragedies took place. So it was you, in fact, who took the third gun from the scene of the crime? Yes, it was yours truly. I left the clear up to my lackeys and left. Clear up? We made a bit of a mess around the counter, so Mr. Whistle and Flute here told us to tidy up. He thinks our bloomin' mum sometimes. I was paying you enough. Tell me, Mr. Graydon, when you left the pawnbrokery that night, was it by any chance with the second disc in your jack pocket? You're like a bull at a gate, aren't you?
Excuse me.
Gentlemen. Uh-oh. Something wrong, Sunshine? That should be my line. Do you realize you were just violently shaking Mr. Skulkin? Blimey, this D's a bit of a hooligan, ain't he? What was going on just now? You saw him. He grabbed me whistle. Why the blazes, he said. Didn't you mention the third gun when we got down to the station? Why didn't you? Guys, we didn't know nothing about it. Or that flaming people on the door. Sorry about that. I can be prone to lose my rag sometimes. No hurt, are you? Oh, blimey. See the way he's looking at me? I tell you, this D gives me the willies. That was strange. Inspector doesn't normally get quite as worked up at that. He wouldn't normally grab someone. No, that wasn't like Greg's at all. He's normally all sweetness and light no matter what I say to him. Yes, well, I think you might be a special case, Iris. Well, anyway, that was definitely out of character. What's your feeling, Runo? As much as I hate to admit it, I don't see any obvious holes in this testimony at the moment. But you have to find a way to break this ban. Quickly, too, because once they discover the blood on the overcoat Ginny was wearing, it's a bit strange that he's so sure of himself about seeing the blood spatter over Ginny's coat. It doesn't strike me as the sort of thing you'd claim if you hadn't generally seen it happen. But we know that Gina didn't shoot Mr. Windybank, so what's going on? All I know is that it's very unfair. Why should some German scientist's test be acceptable as evidence when mine and Hurley's wasn't? The detective can use test tubes too. Never mind that, I have to find a really stark inconsistency in this testimony somewhere. I have to find it before the prosecution discovers the bloodstains on Gina's coat. Okay, I missed one, so when we get to that point, we'll see here. Let me look at our stuff. I'm curious. I wonder if like if we can present like the picture of her with his gun. Well, I'm gonna guess we can do that one. It seems strange that why on earth would she be holding the other guy's gun and passed out there too? If he says she threw the other one out the peephole. Okay. Flee to safety. Okay. I want to question. Press the one. Okay.
Hold it!
All over her? Yes, through the peephole, I saw it clearly. Of course, the stains are invisible now, what with the coat being such a dark color. And how would he know that? But I assure you, the garment is sullied with the victim's blood. Well, it is sullied with blood, that's for sure. But it's not Mr. Windybank's blood, is it? No, that's right. Mr. Mason Milverton's blood from when McGilden stabbed him 2 months ago. So annoying. If they'd only accept Hurley's chemical analysis, we could prove that. But they won't, so unfortunately we can't use it as evidence to support our case. Bother. My lord! Request your lordship permission to interrupt the cross-examination. Explain yourself, officer. I have the results of the test that was ordered earlier, my lord. Ah. The blood on the accused overcoat. Thank you, officer. Very well. The cross-examination is hereby temporarily suspended. I presume you have no objection, counsel? No, my lord. Well, there you have it. The report, please, Inspector. Yes, sir. Traces of human blood were found on the overcoat of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. From the extent of the stains, it appeared that they were a result of splattering following a gunshot wound. End of report. Goodness me. How about a knife stabbing? See? What did I tell you? No, the blood on the overcoat is not Mr. Windybank's. What on earth makes you say that, counsel? The coat originally belonged to Magnus McGilded. Just before his coat was deposited at Windybank's, McGilded had fatally stabbed Mr. Mason Milverton. So the blood on the overcoat is the blood of the brickmaker from the omnibus case. Well, the dead cannot speak. Isn't that right, my Nipponese friend? Sorry. 2 months ago, in this very courtroom, did you not argue fervently for McGilden's innocence? And yet now that the man is dead, you brand him as a murderer? Your conduct shatters any shred of respect you may have earned for yourself in this country. But that was... I call it disgraceful. Treachery, that's what it is. How to determine whether blood on that coat is 2 months old or not. Even a stereoscope couldn't help the answer to that problem pop out. It can't be done! But... We used Mr. Sholmes' specially formulated Mr. Sholmes is a detective, not a chemist. Would you put such faith in a chemical formula devised by me, for example, when I'm a communications officer? I held out Porosky to starving boy and he ran away crying. Herlock Sholmes is barely more than a figment of the public's imagination. His name carries no weight in the courtroom, no weight at all. How could you say that? Victory is sweet indeed. This proves that my testimony is the whole truth from start to finish. How do you arrive to such a conclusion, sir? As the witness said, the accused's coat was splattered with blood of the victim. The only way Mr. Grayson could possibly have known the fact is if he saw it happen. In other words, his testimony is solid, and the conclusion is singular. It was the accused who shot the victim in this case. That is the whole truth. My lord, been a long battle this one, but this old warhorse has something to say now, if you please. Oh, we're gonna have to do this again. As of this moment, sir, the squadron has reached its final decision. Ready, men? All for one now? Sir.
Guilty.
No.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Well, it would appear the ladies and gentlemen of the jury have reached a unanimous verdict. The defense has consistently failed to unpick this witness's testimony. Here's to an attempt you make at unpicking the juror's decision being equally successful. Ugh. I don't believe it. After I've come so far, how is it all unraveling on me so fast? How very distressing to be held in such a low esteem. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? Officer? You've delivered the report now. That will be all, thank you. It occurred to me with some regularity, Mr. Naruhodo. The scientific truths are determined not by science, but by none other than the human mind. I know that voice. Please be Sholmes. Please be Sholmes. Am I going mad? Please be Sholmes. It is! Mr. Sholmes! What? What is the meaning of this? Oh, yes. We've got him on the stand. Order, order, order! What business do you have here, detective? Last I heard you were recuperating in the hospital. As well I should be, had I not been set upon an errand. What errand? Hurley, it's really you. You're awake at last. Yes, good day, Iris. It appears to be rather late to rise. My apologies. Now, my lord, if you will humor me. In what matter, sir? I have something of great importance I wish to give to the young lawyer over here. I need no more than 5 minutes. Would you be so kind as to spare us the time? What say you did this, Lord Van Zieks? This trial has taken many hours of the court's time, having spent so long already. Exactly, having spent so long already, we don't want to go wasting any more precious time. As I was saying, having spent so long already, it would seem churlish to deny the defense of your 5 minutes. Ah! Very well then. Counsel, you have 5 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna do a quick restroom break. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. My dear fellow, I apologize for my tardy arrival. I've been waiting weeks for you to come into this courtroom so we can see how you are in front of them. I'm expecting Van Zieks to get so annoyed at you. Mr. Sholmes, are you all right now? Ah, all right, I'm all wrong. Sorry? I've only just managed to summon the strength to stand, man. I asked the judge for 5 minutes. But I fear even that may be too much for me. Pray forgive me should I pass out. Oh no, her face. Let's make this session as short as possible. Hurley, this place is full of idiots. None of them can see how wonderful your chemical blood analysis is. Ah, well, that concoction of mine was really just a bit of sport to assist me in my investigations. Never took the trouble to refine it for appraisal by the scientific community, and oversight on my part. Right. Modesty? Surely not. But enough of that. I'm here to give you this, my dear fellow. What's that? A lavender Furoshi wrapping? A leaving present for Miss Susato. For Miss Susato. If possible, matters were to be settled without me giving you this. Those were her instructions when she asked me to do her this favor. I don't understand. Miss Susato foresaw today's events, I believe. She knew that the culprit would attempt to escape justice by means both devious and underhanded, and that you, Mr. Naruhodo, fighting squarely as you are wont to do, would find yourself in considerable peril. At the very moment of crisis, you were to be given the small parcel. Those were the dear lady's instructions. A leaving present from Miss Susato? Whatever could it be? What is this? Oh! It's the machine I made. Meow. Look, I use this. It's my latest invention. What is that? I call it the cat flap-o-matic. I can make a cat flap for a little furry friend like Waggy in seconds. What am I supposed to do with this? What's Susie up to? Miss Susato muttered the following words before she left. I'm a failure. I don't deserve to be a judicial assistant. What? Didn't you say something like that before? You really are the best judicial assistant in the world. Well, that's extremely flattering. But I'm sorry to say that I have been a complete failure. Whatever did she mean by that, Mr. Sholmes? That night, when you left Windybanks in pursuit of the thieves. Miss Susato made use of this contraption for a certain purpose. That is your answer, dear fellow. Not at all cryptic, then. Susato-san can use this cat flap-o-matic that night, but why? Did she make the peephole? Oh my. I thought it was weird that someone could look in from the outside. 5 minutes over. We're out of time already? I'm grateful to you for affording us that brief recess, Mr. Reaper. I need no thanks, Detective. After all, the die is cast. Is it really? The jurors aren't unanimous in their learnings. No doubt my learned friend will consider a summation examination. But any attempt to alter the verdict now would be utterly futile. Futile. I wonder... Mr. Naruhodo. Yes. The rest is down to you, dear fellow. What is your plan? The rest is down to me. I need to be careful here. If I make a wrong move, the trial will end badly. My lord, the defense requests a summation examination, right? Is that right? Oh, I hope I did that right. Hopefully I wasn't supposed to cross-examine what he said with the cat flap. What do you think you're doing, Mr. Naruhodo? Sorry? What did Mrs. Oh, yep. Would you let this final piece of evidence she left you go to waste? Final piece of... This is not time for inaction. It's time to hear from a witness. I don't think that's what her means, Bruno. Have you forgotten where we are in this trial? Aha! I know. I think we should proceed to the... Nope. Wait, my lord. The defense requests further cross-examination. The jurors have spoken. Protocol dictates that you may not cross-examine a new witness now. The defense is not asking to cross-examination of a new witness, rather to continue with the one of the existing witness. What? It would appear that a rather important detail has escaped your attention, Mr. Reaper. My lord, I'm requesting your lordship's permission to interrupt the cross-examination. I interrupted it. Very well, the cross-examination is hereby temporarily suspended. I presume you have no objection, counsel? No, my lord. So nobody can say anything then. Bruno asked to resume his cross-examination of Mr. Graydon. The court is obliged to allow it. This is absurd. I would remind those present that this is my courtroom. I concur that the defense is entirely within its rights to request the continuation of the cross-examination. However, I will not permit an unremitting protraction of these proceedings. Therefore, I've decided to afford the defense one final opportunity in conclusion of the cross-examination. Counsel, you must choose but one statement from the witness's testimony, and but one piece of evidence to present in support of your argument against it. I know which one I want to do. Don't worry. If following that the situation remains unchanged, I shall move to adjudication. Is that clear, counsel? You will not press the witness any further. My lord. Yes, my lord. A single statement and a single piece of evidence. Most generous. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, it's high time. I fell in a dead faint. I leave this in your capable hands. Oh no! Mr. Sholmes! To stand so insouciant before the court in a state of such high fever, either the man has extraordinary strength of mind or extraordinary lack of feeling. Probably both. Imagine he's feeling very little now. The detective is sleeping soundly in one of the antechambers. Strike a man when he's down, why don't you? Well then, counsel, are you fully prepared? Yes. One statement, one piece of evidence. Won't let Mr. Sholmes down or Iris. And I won't waste this final chance that Susato-san has given me. This is going to decide the entire outcome of the trial. Very well then. Under the terms I have outlined, you may resume the cross-examination. Wonder what happens if I accidentally misclick past the line I want. All these references were jostling around the broker. Natch over the counter. I want the one where he mentions the peephole. Shut himself in the storeroom. I can see him through the peephole.
Objection.
What on earth? Is this a centric contraption, counsel? Oh, it's my cat flap-o-matic, my lord. It makes a way for cats to get in and out of the room. You can cut through any door you think of and make a new little door in the middle of it. That's right, my lord. It's a device for creating so-called cat flaps. Small doors for cats to come and go as they please without their owners having to open the main door. I'm sure we all can work that out for ourselves. Ah. But that cat lover's contrivance has no possible relevance to this case. Oh, really? Of course it does. Hello, Azam! How are you today? Thank you for the raid. We're currently playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. So we're getting near the end of this trial. So we're kind of unpacking, trying to get him the final evidence to take him down. I've been doing okay. Not doing too bad. So, I'm so glad to have you here. Okay, of course it doesn't. To start with, there's no cat flap in the pawnbroker's door. Not being a keeper of cats myself, I'm afraid I fail to see what this has to do with the matter at hand. Perhaps it would help if I described its function other way then. This contraption is able to create a peephole in any door you can imagine in practically no time at all. I beg your pardon, a peephole, you say? 2 nights ago, we arrived at the scene only minutes after the murder of Mr. Windybanks had taken place. That's right. According to the paperwork at the yard, it was you, your Japanese assistant, and Sholmes. Yes, the 3 of us were together, and it recently came to my attention that my assistant made use of this device at the time. Your assistant did what? There was a peephole in the storeroom door. I can attest to that. Because I looked through the peephole myself in order to see inside the locked storeroom. This is ludicrous. What are you trying to say? Of course there's a peephole in the door. I said as such in my testimony. How else would I have witnessed the crime, for pity's sake? Yes, how could you? What? Counsel, kindly say what you mean. Alright, it's time. Time to strike the final blow. What I mean is, my lord, my assistant made the peephole in the storeroom door, and until such time as she did, the door had no hole in it to look through. What? No!
Objection!
This is a farce! Are you really suggesting that the peephole in the door was... Yes, it was created only after the incident had taken place. My judicial assistant using this device. Your assistant tampered with the crime scene whilst being fully aware of the gravity of her actions? That is a most serious act of vandalism. For which I'm humbly apologize, my lord. It was in a few minutes that I left the scene in order to pursue the skulking brothers and alert the police. Nevertheless, in the light of this new information, it becomes apparent that Mr. Graydon's testimony is riddled with holes. Riddled with? Explain yourself, counsel. The majority of Mr. Grayson's testimony that appeared to incriminate the defendant is based upon what he witnessed through the peephole in the storeroom door. Yes, that filthy girl shooting the man in the back. However, if at the time of the incident, the peephole did not yet exist in the door, there's no possible way that you could have seen what you claim to have seen. In short, your entire testimony is a pack of lies. Ugh. Order. Is there any credence in this revelation?
Objection!
None whatsoever, as my learned friend must surely realize. Exactly. This is some cheap trick designed to discredit me. I'm afraid not, sir. Of course it is. Do you seriously expect people to believe that plaything can cut through solid wooden doors? Oh yes, it can be very powerful. Cut through even the toughest of doors. That's absurd. I don't believe it for a second. Ha! I had a feeling you'd say that. What? Waggy, cooey, time for dinner. Oh, she already made a hole. Meow. Well. Young lady, this is Old Bailey. One does not make a cat flap in the oak panels of Old Bailey. I'm not done yet, don't worry. This doesn't mean that the peephole in the storeroom door at Windybanks was made by your machine. And there's no way to prove that it was. No, but it's easy. What? The cat flap... The cat flaps my cat flap-o-matic creates are all of a fixed size, and the dimensions of the people at Windybanks are exact match. Ugh. Old Silky's lost for words. Excellent work, Iris. Thank you. And now is my learned friend's turn to be lost for words, I feel. Uh-oh. I believe your judicial assistant has already left the country for your Eastern Island home. Well, yes, that's true. Then you may have some difficulty in establishing all of the facts. For the sake of argument, let us assume the people has dimensions that are perfectly fit for this contraption. In that case, when was the people cut? The prosecution demands proof of your answer. Oh, is it in the picture? I want to look. No, people. I think we can do that. Hopefully so. There's a peephole now. That's after the fact. Haha, we have it. What is the purpose of your lighting of inquiry, Lord Van Zieks? It's very simple, my lord. The defense argues that the peephole was created after the incident using this device. But now that the perpetrator has returned to her native land, she cannot testify to the fact. There is no proof. Ugh. And for as long as the defense remains unable to prove when the peephole was made, my lord friend's claim amount to nothing more than a baseless accusation. No, I can prove it. We got pictures. Indeed, that is so, Lord Van Zieks. Well, counsel, don't give up now, Runo. This is the time to create your own opening and force your way through. I don't know if I can do this, but I do know one thing. Susato-san is the greatest judicial system in the world. Very well. The counsel for the defense will present evidence to support the claim made. Proof that the people in the door at Windy Bank's storeroom was created after the event and not before. We're gonna go with this one where there's no people in it. What are you? A print from the detective's infernal cameras again. My judicial assistant, Miss Susato Mikatoba, is an extremely intelligent and capable woman, which is why I never had any cause to doubt that she would have considered this scenario and made sure I had the necessary proof. And the necessary proof is that this photographic print, counsel? This print shows a scene in the shop moments after the defendant entered the premises. Agreed. It also shows the accused maliciously wielding a gun in the direction of the defense's broker. But more to the point, it pictures the storeroom door in the background. Let me see the print again. I had always wondered. I thought that was kind of weird for people because people could look in at this stuff. I don't believe it. This really is quite remarkable. The door to the storeroom is completely devoid of a people of any description. Ugh. Mr. Graydon, you couldn't possibly have witnessed the crime as you claim to have done, because at that time it happened, there was no peephole in the door. Ugh. In other words, your testimony is a catalog of lies. Oh, he's fully twirling. Did we get him fully? That was a little bit more than usual. Order, order, order! I am satisfied that the defense has substantiated its claim beyond reasonable doubt. This witness's testimony was entirely fallacious. That's not the only thing we know now beyond all reasonable doubt. My learned friend's assistant's guilt can no longer be denied. The woman tampered with a crime scene. But more importantly, there's more, Lord Van Zieks. The defense may have established a reprehensible instance of perjury, but that is no proof that this man is the victim's killer. Ah, the gun thing. Yes, that's right. What? I was there at the scene. It's true. And I was shot in the arm. It's true. But that's all. Yes, in fact, you're getting to be a mess. If you look at the circumstances, I am the victim here. Oh, please. No. No, I don't believe this, but they're right as it stands now. I don't have any definitive proof that he's the culprit. What about the gun thing? Still, he can't worm his way out of this now. Iris, you know what they say. There's no point locking the cat's door after the cat has bolted. Isn't that right, Runu? As Hurley always says, one lie begets another. No, wait, that might have been a line I wrote for him in one of my stories. Well, no matter who said it first, you're right. Mr. Graydon, not only did you give false testimony to the court, but the lies you told make no sense. Make no sense? What do you mean by such a remark? What you said in your testimony reveals that you know something you shouldn't have known. In other words, there is a fundamental inconsistency in your statements. What?
Objection.
The coat. This is provocative talk, counsel. Won't you enlighten the court? Explain this alleged inconsistency. Ours is right. One lie because another. Inconsistency is revealed by the lies in the witness' statements. They show that Mr. Grayson had knowledge of something he shouldn't have known anything about. Namely, the bloodstains that were present on Miss Lestrade's coat. That's right. The victim's blood splattered all over her when she shot him. But how could you possibly have known that? Obviously, because I saw her do it through the people in the... The point is not that you lied in your testimony, Mr. Graydon. It's the nature of the lie you concocted that is so revealing. You're not making any sense. Then let me ask you a simple question. How is it, Mr. Graydon, that you know the existence of the people on the storeroom door? What? Well, obviously has the cat got your tongue, witness? The people on the door was made after the incident occurred. And once I returned to the shop having failed to catch the two burglars, Scotland Yard's investigators arrived immediately. Since that time, the police have been at Windy Banks constantly carrying out their investigation. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson? Well, yes, of course. The place is chock full of pawn articles, and my lads have to thoroughly examine them all. So I gave the order to have officers work around the clock shift so we get through it all. And consequently, there's no way that you, Mr. Graydon, could have gained access to the shop. Therefore, you should have known nothing about the people in the storeroom door. So the fact that it exists forms the basis of your testimony is completely inexplicable.
Objection.
And yet, the fact remains that Mr. Graydon did maintain that he witnessed the crime taking place through the people on the door. How on earth is that possible? Could I have a word, please, Lord Van Zeeks? Speak, Inspector. It's just that I really ought to be getting back to the station now to put in my report. There's really nothing more I can add to this testimony, so if it's all the same to you... Permission denied. Oh. It's not all the same to me, Inspector. Not at all. You will remain exactly where you are until this trial concludes. He's getting nervous. He's done something bad. Of course, sir. Mr. Graydon. You shouldn't have known about the existence of that peephole. Which can only mean that you must have been informed about it by somebody else. Ugh.
Objection.
Stop there, my learned friend. You realize, I trust, that the words you just uttered have extreme serious implications. Yes? But the defense believes that the details about the case that Mr. Graydon claims to have seen must have been revealed to him by a certain person before his testimony. In fact, considering a particular clue we have, there's really only one person that could be. Who is the person in question, counsel? Who gave the witness details of the crime scene to facilitate his false testimony? Oh, I liked you, but you're really...
Take that.
The truth is, It can only have been you, Inspector Gregson. Me?
Objection!
You had better have some proof to substantiate such a rash claim, my learned friend. Consider the fact that we have only been aware of Mr. Ashley Graydon's identity for the last few hours. We learned of it only during the course of the trial today. Indeed, preparations for this testimony were made with great urgency during 1 hour-long recess, while the police executed the subpoena and brought the man here from the communication station. Until that time, Mr. Gregson would have had no idea. No inkling that he would suddenly be required to appear in court. Are you suggesting that until such time as he was summoned? Yes, my lord. Till then, it's reasonable to assume he knew nothing of the people. It was only once Mr. Graydon was in the stand that he realized his position. That he would have to defend himself against the accusation that he was the third intruder. You're suggesting to the court that it was while his trial was in progress that he received the information? So that he could commit perjury in order to save his skin? Exactly. The only person with knowledge of the investigation that he had any contact with is you, Inspector Gregson. This is a bloomin' outrage. Why would I be giving away details of our investigations to this fella, huh? I was summoned to his lordship's chambers during the recess in any case. Had you forgotten that? You guys were whispering earlier. Quite true. I had a number of questions regarding the events that transpired at the pawnbrokery. Which means the first time these two laid on one another was after proceeding resumed following the recess. Since then, they've been in full view in the stand, where such illicit discussions could possibly have occurred. Ugh. No, they talked earlier. Oh, I just remembered something, Bruno. What is it, Iris? There was one time before, wasn't there? I think it was when Ginny was testifying. Oh yeah, now that you mention it. When the bailiff was dispatching to retrieve McGilden's music box from the scene of the crime. That's it. It was during that testimony. I remember finding it strange at the time. Mr. Grayson and the inspector seemed to have been having some kind of secret discussion. It had been possible for you to give Mr. Graydon the information he needed then. You little toe rag, you're making all this up. I'm a respectable Scotland Yard inspector, for crying out loud. Why would I do something like that? Well, why would I give away any confidential details to the likes of this bloke? Admittedly, you wouldn't have any reason to do something like that for no gain, but perhaps it was part of a deal of some kind. Then it started to make more sense. Uh-oh. What deal, counsel? I like it when he makes that face. He knows we're right on something. I wonder if perhaps in exchange for details about the people at the crime scene, Mr. Grayson agreed to give a certain something to the inspector. I'm sure I need not remind the inspector that if I found it to be true, striking a deal of any kind with a witness would be considered a gross case of malfeasance. I probably butchered that, I'm sorry.
Objection!
It's becoming clear that jumping in with an accusation in this is the Snippanese student's specialty. I don't do that. But with that stake so high, the prosecution is not prepared to listen to baseless charges. It is incumbent on the defense now to present evidence in support of the diabolical claim. Evidence? Just what are you proposing that the inspector demanded of the witness in return? Second disc. The court must be the proof of the alleged deal. If Inspector Grayson really did strike a deal with Mr. Graydon, then logically, there's only one thing he could have asked for. That must be it. Bruno, do you think it could be? Yes. It's the missing link that would join all the dots together in this puzzle. I must press you for an answer now, counsel. What evidence explains the nature of the deal? Alleged deal. Let's see here. This one. Alright. Open this. Please, please. Inspector Gregson. Besides this murder, is it not true that you've been working on another very important case? What are you getting at now, Sunshine? Is it possible that this other top-secret case is what's been alluding to this newspaper article here? The classified secrets being leaked overseas from the Ministry of Justice. How the bleeding Nora could yet... We discovered during the course of this trial the music box deposited at Windy Banks by Magnus McGilden. A special music box designed to play 2 discs at once. It would seem very likely now that encoded on the pair discs that were in McGilden's possession are the leaked classified secrets. So I put it to you, Inspector, that in order to recover the second of the discs containing the secrets, you covertly made a deal with Mr. Gregden, in which you exchanged the disc for details of the case. You little... Order! On the day of the incident, when we met you at Windy Banks, you said this. I'll be taking that whatever it is in McGillen's down to the yard, thank you very much. So hand it over. No, don't give it to him. That's mine. That is mine. I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGillen's has to be taken into evidence now. Scotland Yard already knew at the time, isn't that right? That Magnus McGilden was involved in the stealing of government secrets. My orders were to cover the medium used to convey the secrets leaked from the ministry, and do it on the QT strictly hush hush. And that explains why, when I presented the disc as evidence to the court, you objected so heavily, I presume. Because you knew that it contained highly confidential information. But I mean, not likely. I mean, I wasn't that sure of it myself. I realized there was a possibility, that's all. Inspector, surely you're not saying that in order to acquire the second of these music box discs, you did indeed reveal confidential details of the crime scene to the witness. Aid and abet this man in giving false testimony. There's no other way that Mr. Graydon could have known the existence of the people. The only explanation, a deal was struck between these 2 men. Oh, God! Well, they've just been hanging out here to the side for a while, listening to it all. If, and I stress if, this sobering assertion turns out to be found in truth, it would mean that the second disc, as we speak, here is in this very courtroom. Wait, what? In this room? How could you possibly make a claim like that? Because Inspector Gregson is a Scotland Yard detective. What's that supposed to mean, eh? As a seasoned policeman, the inspector will have approached this alleged deal with caution. Certainly, he would not have accepted a gentleman's agreement in this matter. No, he would have insisted on having the article agreed upon in the palm of his hand. Good gracious, then you mean to say Inspector Grayson already has the item in question in possession? He has the second disc actually on his person? That's the first time I think we've heard a yes, haven't we? Maybe? The defense demands that the inspector is searched at once. Definitely. They could only have struck a deal with each other when Ginny was testifying before, and Gregsley hasn't moved from the witness stand since. My lord, please, order examination of his personal effects immediately. Well, Inspector. This young lad wants to tone down his imaginations. He's insulted me in my profession quite enough. However, if I'll put this matter to bed and dispel any doubt about my involvement, then I'll happily submit to a body search. What? He's going to agree to it? I presume you're aware of the precipice of which you now teeter, my learned student friend. You've made a most serious allegation against Scotland Yard here. If, following the search of the inspector's personal effects, no disc is found, you will be deemed unfit for court service. This trial will end, and my country's government will formally demand of yours that you are severely reprimanded. That sounds serious. Indeed, to have a visiting student make such defamatory remarks about our country's most senior police force is not something Her Majesty's government will be able to overlook. You're just threatening Runa because you're scared. The accusation is beyond serious. You must be prepared for grave consequences. It's true. I can't imagine Gregson would have accepted a gentleman's agreement for something so critical. This must have physically changed hands, which means the inspector should have it. He shoved it on the other guy, but somehow something doesn't feel quite right here. No, he's stuck it on the Skulkin brother. Very well, counsel, you know the implications, so let me ask you one final time. Yes, my lord. Do you still persist in formally requesting a search of the inspector's personal effects? We're gonna search someone else. Yes, the defense formally demands the search be conducted. Well, don't say you weren't warned, but your typical Nipponese stubbornness may very well land you in hot water this time. Perhaps the lesson will do you some good. Fair enough. I've got nothing to hide. I didn't do it for him, did I? Very well then. Bailiff, conduct a search of the inspector's personal effects, please. The defense demands a search, but not of Inspector Gregson. What? Now what is all this? I'm the one you're accusing, aren't I? I thought you wanted to search me. No, Inspector, not you. Somebody else. What's the meaning of this, eh? At last, have you, sunshine? Court shouldn't have put up with this nonsense. You're being completely irrational. It's on him. It's on him. Quiet, all of you. Runo's doing what you all told him to do and having the courage of his convictions. So you should respect that and listen to what he has to say in good faith. Because that's the British way. Well said, young lady. Indeed, this court is in awe of the defense's counsel's convictions and eagerly awaits its next words. You, what? Now don't be hasty, my lord. I'm not mistaken about the things I've seen in court today. I'm fairly sure I know who has the disc at the moment. The only one person it can be. Counsel, of whom do you request a search now? I want the Skulkin brother.
Take that!
Of, my lord, Mr. Nash Skulkin. Well, I never. Eh? Me? Very well then. Bailiff, restrain the witness and conduct a thorough search of this personal effects. Please, my lord. Inspector, Scotland Yard has to object to this search.
Objection!
Unfortunately for you, Inspector, your objections carry no weight here. Eh? In this courtroom, only the prosecution and the defense have the authority to object. But Lord Van Seeks, I have no idea what forces are in play that might influence your actions. But personally, I have no intention of obstructing the course of this trial. Oh. Bailiff, carry out the search. Now, old Onmo, I don't know nothing about no disc. Cut it out! Ah! Here, my lord. In the witness's pocket. I found this. That is another music box disc. I don't know nothing about it. Nothing. That is the second music box disc left behind by Magnus McGilded. It is not Inspector. Is it not Inspector Gregson? Ugh, ah! Order! Mr. Skulkin, what have you to say for yourself? Gordon Bennett, Gordon Fleming Bennett. I didn't know nothing about that disc. Counsel, would you please explain exactly what's going on here? The alleged deal that was struck between this witness and this detective, no? Without question, my lord. Then, for pity's sake, why on earth was this man in possession of the disc that the inspector traded for information? Inspector Gregson is a shrewd, calculated man who rarely loses his composure. But at one particular point in this trial, he exhibited some unusual behavior for a brief moment. I don't recall what unusual behavior. Ah. It was, yes, during my cross-examination, Mr. Graydon. Tell me, Mr. Graydon, when you left the pawnbrokery that night, was it by any chance with the second disc in your jacket pocket? I meant to nothing of the sort. Well, Mr. Graydon answered my questions. The inspector appeared to have grabbed Nash Skulkin by his coat and was shaking him violently. Yeah, he did and all. Thought my noggin was gonna fall clean off, I did. I was wishing I'd been born as me brother I was. And what exactly happened to make the detective attack you like that? I ain't got a clue. He just suddenly turned and grabbed me. Was like it was start checking me. Blazes, didn't he mention the third gun when we got you down to the station? That's what he said. Felt right down my ear hole, he did. Yeah, but still throbbing now. The way the detective behaved was extremely out of character. But looking back now, it must have been when he did it. That was the opportunity Inspector Gregson created for himself in order to hide the disc. Well, bless my wig. He hid it? Yep. I'm afraid I failed to comprehend the motive here. The detective had acquired the disc he was after. Why on earth would it be he then proceeded to hide it on another man's pocket? This is a court of law. He could have submitted the item as evidence. It would appear, my lord, that the inspector was not at liberty to do that. Why ever not? As the man himself revealed earlier, his current assignment has some special conditions. My orders were recover the medium used to convey the secrets leaked from the ministry and to do it on the QT, strictly hush hush. Hush hush. Top secret assignment, is it? As far as we are aware, the information stolen comes from a confidential government communications. It seemed that if the information were to be revealed in court as evidence, it'd be problematic. Does that sum up the situation, Inspector? I'm operating under direct orders from the ministry. I'm afraid I'm not at liberty to answer that question. So, realizing there was a chance that you may be searched here in court, you took steps to hide the disc you had acquired from the witness. Ah, does that mean you only pretended to attack Mr. Skulkin in order to get close enough to him to slip the second disc in with it in his pocket? So it was all a pretense. Well now, Inspector Gregson, and you, Mr. Graydon, are you prepared to admit to the accusation made against you on this alleged deal? Admit to it? Yours truly, please. Mr. Graydon, clearly our Eastern visitor has an uncommonly active imagination. However, there's no proof that I passed the disc to the inspector. But then, how do you explain the reason why you knew about the people? I'm under no obligation to explain. What? Yes, I lied in my testimony. That I admit, so sentence me accordingly. But that is all I admit. Murder, leaking government secrets, striking a deal with a detective, all of it is this young Eastern man's fantasy. I have no idea what any of that is about. Yo, what? Oh, they like to push and push and push, don't they? Well, what about you then, Inspector Gregson? Do you admit to making a deal with Mr. Graydon in order to acquire the disc? Ladies and gents of the jury, as a Scotland Yard inspector, I will declare this and nothing more. I am acting in the best interest of the country. Whatever I've done, I've been in the name of justice. So, as a member of the public of this fine country, I'd like to think that justice will be your guiding light when you're making your decision. This is quite a quandary indeed. Rarely have I encountered such extraordinary tumultuousness. We're not going to butcher this word any word. In the concluding of a trial. Nevertheless, in the absence of further evidence to be presented, I believe it is time that we put the matter to the jury for their final leaning. Well now, as a fellow servant of Queen and country, I must say I sympathize with the old inspector. Yes, he's a dependable man, I'm quite sure. In service, one becomes a good judge of character. Even crossing your eyes doesn't help when it comes to looking at this case. It's all blurred to me. Well, as a fellow professional, I'd like to put my faith in the detective, really. Greetings, highly skilled operator, stop. Currently in presence of idle, stop. Detective has very much trust in ice. More than this, I cannot say. I don't believe it. These 6 euros are... You're going to believe Gregson? If they declare their decision now? Is Ginny going to be found guilty? If I don't manage to produce some definitive evidence right now, then we're going to lose. Either some proof that Graydon killed Mr. Windybanks or stole those government secrets. Or some evidence to force Gregson in admitting that he struck a deal with the witness. Well then, counsel. I think it's time I impose on the jurors to declare their final decisions. No, that is unless you have some compelling evidence you have thus far not presented to the court. If I let the judge call on the jurors to announce their leanings, Jenny will be found guilty. So there's no choice, Bruno. You have to throw some more evidence at them. This is now. It all comes down to this. Who do I present evidence against, Gregson? Or Graydon? Oh, goodness. I don't know. I'm not sure who I'm supposed to throw it at. Feeling it's gonna be Gregson, but I'm not for sure. Let's see here. Okay. Let's see. Okay, let's see what I figured. Okay. Mr. Gregson, there's one final piece of evidence I'd like you to see. What's that then? If you refuse to acknowledge that you did, in fact, strike a deal with the witness here today, then you leave us no choice but to examine this piece of evidence thoroughly. Well, go on. This is my last chance. It looks like I'm going to have to force his hand here. One final piece of evidence to get this detective to admit to the deal he clearly struck with Graydon. Okay, I'm going to say he didn't want us to mess with this, I think.
Take that!
Is that Mr. McGilden's peculiar music box, Council? Yes, with the disc already in place, ready to play. I think perhaps now would be a good time to listen to the sound produced by the music box again. Only this time with both discs. With the second disc we've just discovered set in place as well. Goodness, this disc, Council. No, wait, I can't let you do that. Why not? Because, well, because it's not got nothing to do with the case, that's why. Not true, Inspector. The defense has already proposed that the sound heard by the court earlier from this music box were part of a Morse code message. We know that the Morse code comprised of 2 distinct tones. The defense believes that the second disc contains the second tone needed to complete the message. Now we have a chance to confirm that theory. Crying out loud, Sunshine. We're talking about state secrets here. If you go letting the whole courtroom hear confidential information like that, it's treason. Then do you admit the charge? In order to protect those state secrets, you engage in unlawful dealings with the witness? You're mad. If you let that secret information out into public domain, you'll be making an enemy of the entire British government, you idiot. Let's not forget, Inspector, that you, a Scotland Yard officer, leaked confidential case details to a witness. That you continue to lie to the court, and all because, by fair means or foul, you're determined to do your duty. Well, by fair means or foul, I'm prepared to do mine. Don't you dare! I will stop at nothing to protect my client. I don't care who I make an enemy of. He's like, I'm just gonna watch. My lord, if you please. The court must hear the sound made by that music box. Come on, Van Zeeks, for Pete's sake, stop him!
Objection!
Throw your boot up there. Inspector, you should know my methods by now. I'm a prosecutor. I'm no Scotland Yard puppet. Ugh. In this courtroom, my duty is to the law, so let me propose a toast. Covering the truth, by fair means or foul. No! Good, thank you, Van Zeeks. He can be annoying, but he can be helpful too. Very well, the defense stands here, and that of the prosecution has been made very clear, I feel. Therefore, in accordance with the defense's request, the court will now listen to the music box set in operation once more. This time with the second disc in place and both discs playing simultaneously. Oh, listen to that. It's unmistakable now. It's Morse code. Hold it. All right, admit it. Whatever you want. But for the love, shut that blooming box up. Let me ask you again then, Inspector Gregson. Did you or did you not strike a deal with the witness next to you in the stand, Mr. Ashley Graydon? Specifically, did you furnish the witness with confidential case dealings in exchange for this music boxes? Oh, he's helping now, too. Did you reveal the existence of the people in the pawnbroker storeroom door, Inspector? I did. Stop! What are you doing, man? It's exactly like the young Eastern lawyer said. When the trial resumed after the recess and we were stood here in the stand together, that's when he approached me with the deal. Shut up, you imbecile. Shut up! Everyone's turning against you. Psst, you there. You're the detective who turned up at the pawnbroker the other day, aren't you? May have something you're looking for, Inspector. With me at this very moment. So how about a trade? I suggest you accept. Or information that may make certain individuals uncomfortable will soon become very public indeed. I couldn't let the information become public knowledge, not under any circumstances. So I accepted the man's proposal and told him details about the case that should have put him in the clear. The peephole in the storeroom door and the bloodstains on the overcoat. By giving false testimony, this witness intended to have the defendant wrongly accused of murder. Inspector, you knew that. Yet you still revealed these details to facilitate the witness's perjury. I did. But then it turned out the peephole had only been made that night after the incident took place. Scotland Yard wasn't aware of that, if I am perfectly honest. Well, Mr. Graydon, what do you have to say for yourself? There's nothing and no one left for you to hide behind. You struck a deal with the inspector in order to escape convictions of a very serious crime. Namely this. You are the third intruder who broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question. And you perpetrated the murder of the proprietor, Mr. Pop Windybank. Oh, he's gonna break. He's gonna break. Oh, he broke the stick. Traitor! Uh-oh. Did he lose a chip out of one of the fries out of mouth? Bailiff! Bailiff! Restrain that man! Once! That's it then. It's all over. Lots of dots. I despised my life growing up. These slums are vile places. I was cursed from birth, born into poverty, the son of a penniless artisan. My parents did nothing but quarrel all day long. What little money they had was never spent on me. So I set about studying to better myself, to one day escape from the slums. And you eventually became a communications officer. I admire your determination. But then you decided to try to sell government secrets. Why? Isn't it obvious? Because I wanted money. Even now, years later, the nightmares of my life in the slums wakes me in the small hours. I wanted to drown them out with more money than anyone who lived in that qualler could ever imagine. Then one day, I met him. Mr. Magnus McGilded. You're a fiend with a square talent, you are. I have money to throw your way if you're interested. All you need to do is go along with me little plan now. I was to seal the ministry's telegraphic message logs, and McGilded would buy them for a handsome sum. As I was responsible for inspections of the ministry's communication office, it was a simple enough task. The lure of the devil's offering. How easy it is to succumb. But you must surely have realized the seriousness of the crime you were committing. And for that reason, I took great lengths to ensure that my actions were untraceable. By using the music box. My father was a brickmaker, though my mother divorced him when I was still a child. Yes, Mr. Mason Milverton. That's right. He was very skilled with his hands. He once had been a music box maker's apprentice. I imagined his skills would be sufficient to create a machine that would generate Morse code. So I sought out my father again to employ his services. It was the first time I'd seen him since I left the slums 10 years earlier. Look at you, Ashley. What a fine gent you've become, eh? He was a different man to the one in my memory. Thin, frail old man. Poverty had never broken him, never corrupted him like it had me. I was sure that he wouldn't help me if I told him the real reason, so I made up a story. I've got some work for you, Father. I need some music box discs made. Music box discs, eh? Musician friend of mine has written some music he wants to sell to the public. I've brought the score with me. There are 2, actually. I'd be delighted, son. I've been 20 years since I did any work like this, though. Fetch my tools, would you? They're in the loft. That's how I had him make the 2 discs. Thereby splitting the information into 2. You were taking considerable precautions indeed. It was to protect myself as much as anything. It meant that I could deal with the McGildens in 2 separate transactions. First of all, the 2 discs and the music box for playing them. I exchanged them with McGilden for 10 guineas. Then, on receipt of the second disc, you'd pay 1,000 guineas. So, what happened to the omnibus 2 months ago was the second part of the deal, the exchanging of the second disc. Yes, I sold the man information that way a number of times already, but it seems he became reluctant to part with his money. But that doesn't quite make sense, Mr. Graydon, for why was it that on the omnibus 2 months ago, your father, Mr. Milverton, was the one dealing with Mr. McGilded and not yourself? When I received 1,000 guineas after my first completing dealings with McGilded, I decided to give 200 to my father for his troubles. But my father realized something was amiss. In time, he worked out that I must be involved in something dubious. When he did, he said to me, "Next time there's an exchange, you'll let your old man do it, understand? Otherwise, I won't take your money anymore." That was my father's way of dealing with it. I suppose. Climbing into the omnibus, handing over the second disc, and taking the money from McGilden. That's it. He had no idea what was actually on the disc I had asked him to take. He never knew. Just like I'll never know why everything went so horribly wrong that night. All I know is that the disc was taken from him, and he never returned home. It was only then that I found out what sort of a monster McGilden really was. So after 10 years of not once uttering it, I swore on my father's name. To exact revenge. Revenge. He set the coach on fire, I bet. As anyone with even the remotest knowledge of the man will no doubt be able to imagine, McGilden brought all his wealth and influence to bear in the most despicable of ways. To crush any semblance of justice in his trial. The crime scene was tampered with, evidence was fixed, and the witnesses were bribed. The trial 2 months ago was a farce from start to finish. My feet had barely touched British soil back then. I walked in that hornet's nest, completely unaware of the sinister background to it all. I'd made plenty of money out of the dealings with McGilden by then, so I spared nothing in my arrangement 2 months ago. I knew exactly who to hire. If you're willing to pay the price, there are people in the city willing to do anything you ask. McGilden himself had shown me that. Are you saying that? I think you have the picture now. After he twisted everything to his favor in his courtroom to ensure that he walked free... Excuse me, that's my drink. It took matters in my own hands and delivered the justice that monster deserved. The tragic accident following the trial here 2 months ago was planned and executed by yours truly. McGilden's death that day was caused by this man? Everything is ready, sir. If you'd like to follow me into the courtroom. What's this, officer? Just sooner than I'd led to believe. Hope it's not inconvenient, sir. You're worse than a change. Just do the schedule. Well, I must be making tracks now. It's time for the inspection. They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. Asked if I could be present for it myself. So that policeman that came to tell McGilden he could examine the omnibus again? That's right, an imposter. Hired by me. McGilden uses his wealth to manipulate the trial. He paid people to adulterate the omnibus with all manners of false evidence. He threatened witnesses to lie in their testimony. So I gave the man a taste of his own medicine. Once the omnibus was doused in paraffin, one of my sham policemen ushered McGilden inside, sent him to a one-way journey. An eye for an eye. That's how I avenged my father's death. A spine-chilling account, indeed. But that wasn't the end of it for me. There was a loose end, you see. Loose end. Yes, I should think it's obvious. The second disc, which my father had taken in exchange with McGilden. Ah, yes. There was indeed no mention of it in the man's trial 2 months ago. Clearly because it had been removed from the scene of the crime. When I realized it was missing, I remembered something. Something from the first time I dealt with McGilden. This is the first of the 2 discs, and the music box you need to play them. Well, look at that now. What an ingenious little invention. So then, as promised, 10 guineas for ye young men. What's this? Windybank's Pawnbrokery. Aye, it's a pawnbroker's ticket, so it is. You can use it to redeem an article I've deposited there for ye. There's no need to give a name, just hand over the ticket and tell them to mean the watchword. I've put a jewel in pawn for ye. I'll fetch a good 10 guineas if you sell it, so it will. Never heard of a pawnbroker being used in quite the that way before. Have you not, Mr. Graydon? London's pawnbrokers are very useful places, you know. Each one is like an extremely secure vault. So I knew that if he'd taken steps to hide the disc, it'd be in that pawnbrokery somewhere. That on the night he killed my father, he must have entrusted the ticket to someone. Yes, to Gina. I remember now that when we first met you at Windy Bank's afternoon 2 days ago, you had a description of Mrs. Strayed written down. How did you know who you were looking for? From the trial, that pickpocket's testimony was clearly particular. Anyone could see that. I realized immediately it was another of McGilden's pawns, that he must have threatened her somehow. I was fairly convinced it could be her who had the ticket, so I started to make some inquiries. I had a strong suspicion the girl would come out of the woodwork on the redemption deadline. He was absolutely right. And yes, sure enough, she did. All I needed to do was wait until the girl went to the Windy Banks to redeem the articles. Unfortunately, she redeemed only McGilden's overcoat and the one disc that was in his pocket. All-important music box with the second disc inside was missing, because it had already been forfeited 2 days earlier. But I was unaware of that fact. Had I not been, I could have avoided my nighttime excursion. Meanwhile, as our investigation into the stolen government secret was progressing, we picked up on the fact that McGilden was involved. Spectre, you're recovering fast. Our orders were to recover the stolen information as quickly as possible. We started gathering the fellow's possessions and examining whatever we laid our hands on. We had a full-scale investigation going on the yard, but we had to keep it quiet as we could. Then, when the inspector here took the disc from me, pawnbrokers today, I became nervous. I was sure the music box and the second disc were still here in the shop somewhere, so I knew that it was a race against time. I had to find those articles before the police did. So that's what prompted you to break into the place that same night. With the help of your old friends, the Skulkin brothers. What happened that night is in the pawnbrokery I can only describe as a nightmare. While Nash and Ringo were searching the counter, I located the music box I sold to McGilden on the shelf of a forfeited article, and the second disc was inside. Yes, I slipped it into my pocket with a very deep sigh of relief, but then something entirely unexpected happened. What are you doing in my shop? A gunshot rang out in the shop, and I felt a sharp pain in my left arm. The broker fired his gun. The bullet pierced your limb. Yes, exactly. But unfortunately, I decided to bring my own gun with me that night, and just in case. Before I knew what was happening, I fired back. The man had already turned to flee. I hadn't intended to fire in his direction, much less kill him. Unfortunately for both of us, the bullet hit home. Struck him in the middle of his back as he fled through the storeroom door for refuge. A sorry tale. It all took place at the blink of an eye. I don't imagine Nash and Ringo even realized what had happened at first. I was terrified, so I fled. And that's the whole story. That everything that happened at Windy Banks on top of that wretched night. Everyone's silent. Come on, you guys. Earlier, you called McGilden a monster. A man who used his wealth and influence to distort the facts and escape justice for the crime of murder. Tragic irony. Or that what you have done is exactly the same. You've become the very monster you saw and despised so deeply in McGilden. Yes, I think I have. Well, this has been a long and exhausting trial. However, it would seem that the last we have arrived at the truth. Inspector Gregson, what of Mr. Ashley Graydon? He's being restrained, my lord, and is being escorted to the yard. He'll be charged with the murder of Miss Windybank and the stealing of government secrets. Very good. And you, Inspector, regrettably, you will have to face charges yourself. Yes, my lord. Of course. It transpires that you were complicit in helping a criminal escape justice. That fact remains, whether or not you are doing so in the line of duty. The crime is a serious one, Inspector, and inexcusable. Now to the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. Yeah. It is time for the final adjudication. Is the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Yes, sir. Get our Deb squadron standing by, sir. This is really it now. The last push, the final call, the finishing whistle. My men are ready to deliver their verdicts. Thank you, Mr. Foreman. Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You'll now declare your final decision to the court.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty. Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
That's the stuff? I'm off to Ook? Finally, Runer, you finally managed to do it. Finally is the word. I really wasn't sure if we'd come out on top for a while there. Susie was right. You're the best lawyer in the world. Miss Lestrade, I'm not finished with you yet. What are you looking at me like that for? Before you start enjoying your freedom, there are certain other crimes to consider, 2 months ago, in my courtroom no less, you gave false testimony, did you not? In relation to the trial today, not only did you unlawfully enter Windybank's pawnbrokery, you also attempted to abscond with Mr. McGilda's property, it seems. I never done nothing of the sort. Of course not. It's not like you were gleefully wearing McGilda's coat in your cell yesterday or anything. Oh, and just when I was getting excited about throwing a party for Ginny this evening. Turning our attention to the defense. Determining that, when played together, the music box disc contained a message in Morse code was, well, it was certainly a most unexpected revelation, counsel. Quite so, my lord. The prosecution was caught entirely off guard. In fact, I think we should applaud my learned friend's courage here today. I propose a toast. I feel tricked. Are you going to do something, Ziggs? To demanding the government secrets be disseminated before the entire courtroom. He's gonna insult me, yeah. Very sorry about that. It was the only way that I could get Inspector Gregson to admit that to what he'd done, so... If I may say something to that point, in that it's about the sounds produced by the music box before. I do wonder if that was really Morse code at all. What are you saying, madam? Oh, well, it's just that I'm really rather fanatical when it comes to Morse code, you see. So much so that the whole world seems to be covered in dots and dashes for me, in fact. Goodness, madam, I don't know the level of obsession one feels. But I must say that in my opinion, the sounds produced by those two discs were nothing more than that. Immediately serious at two different tones. He said he hadn't worked on it in so long, it probably wasn't coming out well. What? Can that really be? It wasn't Morse code after all? My lord, the defense would like to listen to the music box again. Are you off your... Yeah. How many times do I have to tell you? Those discs contain ministerial secrets, sunshine. This courtroom is not an appropriate forum to discuss the nature of the government's communication. You know McGill inspired to trade national secrets with our enemies, secrets acquired by Mr. Graydon. Now that the man has admitted to his crimes, we have no need to pursue the matter further. Ugh, but it's really going to bother me. Miss Lestrade? Yeah, my lord? That what you have seen today here in this courtroom has been extremely disturbing. Falsified evidence, intimidation, perjury, a grim catalogue of depravity. An appalling experience to befall any child. Come on, it ain't nothing. I don't see days in the back of the slums. I beg your pardon. If you're weak, you pay for it. That's just how life goes. Gina. But look, I reckon I've worked something out. I've worked something out today. The world ain't fair, but if you want it to change, you gotta start at home. You gotta change how you are yourself. Well, that's a very laudable lesson, I would say. I eagerly look forward to the born-again Miss Lestrade never gracing my courtroom with her presence again. Now, with regard to the murder of Mr. Popwindy Banks, proprietor of the pawnbrokery business at Baker Street, I hereby declare the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, not guilty. Yay! That is all. Court is adjourned. On a personal note, I must say, you've surprised me, my far eastern friend. Oh. Despite being a Nipponese, you saw through the pretense of the malice that festered within an Englishman, and at the same time, saw through the grim to the surprising heart of your English client. You have a curious talent for judging character, especially considering our very different cultures. I don't think there's anything curious about it. Whether we're from the Empire of Great Britain or the Empire of Japan. We're all human beings. We're not so different on the inside. You know, I took this case for one simple reason. To lock swords with you once again, here in the courtroom. You did? When I encountered you for the first time 2 months ago, it reminded me of toasting friendship and trusting with another Nipponese, only to find my trust betrayed. Through you, I hope to look into the eyes of a man I once knew and try to understand. You mentioned something similar earlier today, about total betrayal on the hands of the Japanese. What happened exactly? Well, you may ask, and one day, when the time comes, you will learn the answer, whether you like it or not. Alright, then I'll wait for that day if I must. Coming to be known as the Reaper of the Bailey, and my retirement from service 5 years ago, gives me cause to wonder if our meeting has some deeper purpose. How many glasses do you have? So farewell, my other Nipponese fellow, till we meet again. Now we got all the wrap-up to do for this chapter. It's done. It's over at last. But where's Iris disappeared to? Ah. Congratulations, Gina. I knew it all along. I knew that you were innocent. Well, you did what you said, Mr. Naruto. You believed me right up to the end. You're as odd as your name. What's odd about it? I told you I had faith in you, didn't I? No one ever asked before, see? Kept on promising, I mean, properly. That's awful. Figured something out today. All my life growing up in the slums, I've never trusted no one. But that's just because I've been scared of being stabbed in the back. I mean, the more you trust someone, the more it hurts when they let you down. Yes, I think I can understand that. After all, I had a taste of it in that trial 2 months ago. Just trust someone and paid for it. That betrayal left a big scar. You know though, Gina, I worked something out quite recently too. Trusting in someone else is really an exercise in learning to trust yourself. When your gut tells you it's the right thing to do, you trust it. Your trust is rewarded. There's no better feeling in the world. I think I have you to thank for reminding me of that valuable lesson. Oh, well, if you say so. Don't make a fat lot of sense to me, though. Trying to say that putting my faith in you, Gina, has been a real pleasure. For crying out loud, pack it in. But I suppose I sort of feel the same way. I mean, sometimes trusting someone else is, you know, alright. Thanks. This is the way I see it, Rinosuke. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. After this experience, I'm starting to feel like I understand what you mean. Kazuma, am I living up to your expectations? Am I turning out to be the lawyer you believed I could be? Pardon the interruption. Oh. I noticed he had a mustache over there, but I didn't think of it as Sholmes. But what the deuce does a man have to do to be noticed around here, my dear fellow? Ah, that voice. Is it too late for that voice now, Mr. Naruhodo? I've been standing here patiently in the corner of the room for an eternity. Ah, yes, it is me all along. I would have said when finally you noticed me. But you people with your incessant babbling. Mr. Sholmes! Ah, yes, it was me all along. You see? I did notice that one had a mustache, but I didn't think enough of it. I'd assumed you'd been taken back to the hospital, to be honest. Indeed I was, but I managed to escape again. Oh. I happen to be aware of one or two foibles of the doctor who tended to me. I merely made my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily issued me with a leave of absence. I'm very above board. But enough of that of my adventures. That was a fine victory, Mr. Naruhodo. Your tireless efforts justly rewarded, I feel. Congratulations are in order. As a close friend, I tip my hat at you. Oh, thank you. Some great detective you are. Great at being cold as ice, maybe. Have I irked you in some way, Miss Lestrade? Well, you've been giving us snooze in your soft bed. Some of us have been fighting for our lives. Ah, well, that bullet did cause me to lose a substantial amount of blood, it's true. So I've indeed been feeling somewhat cold. Not perhaps as cold as ice, but well. Well, have a feel. Can you take your hands off my neck, please, Mr. Sholmes? Ah, in some way, I suppose congratulations are in order for you, too, Miss Lestrade. What's that supposed to mean? Why so half-hearted? Well, naturally, it isn't my intention to alarm you, but an acquittal in a trial that's particular prosecutor is perhaps a little precarious. Well done, Mr. Sholmes. Not alarming in the slightest. Oh, the Reaper, you mean? Is anyone found not guilty in the trial he was working on winds up dead anyway? Is that it? That's the point I'm trying to make. As exemplified by the fate of Mr. McGilden, in fact. Ah, but of course, I pay no attention to such irrational drivel myself. Yeah, well, that don't bother me. Oh, really? Of course not. The way I see it, the Reaper's a bit like I'm upstairs. I'm upstairs, you mean? Like, God? Yeah, I'm upstairs, knows what, right? He knows what people are like on the inside. You want I've got the wrong end of the stick? There are some covers like that, bot trogger water rotten to the core. At the end of the day, I'm upstairs to make sure they get what they deserve. Suppose that's one way of looking at it. Divine justice is one thing, though. The Reaper taking matters in his own hands and claiming lives is another. Well, I ain't like the McGillans of this world, so I ain't scared. I got principles, see? A trait in which you will be admired, which is to be admired, Miss Lestrade. Oi! Just give a rest, alright? As I was saying, congratulations are in order. The news of your acquittal was very welcome news to me indeed. Let me express my heartfelt congratulations. Gina? Well, there you are, Hurley! How long have you been here? I'll get you. Honestly, I went to the main entrance especially to meet you there. Ah, Iris, my dear. I do apologize. But wait until I tell you what happened. This pair made utter fools of themselves. What happened? As you know, I have a penchant for disguise. I was hiding in this room dressed as a bailiff. But they still didn't recognize my presence at all. They had no idea. Can you imagine, Iris? Would you credit it? I'm not sure, really. I beg your pardon? I'm sorry, Hurley, but you just don't have the weighty presence you seem to think you have. In fact, you really ought to be careful about that. It's going to land you in trouble one day. She knows how to put him in his place a little bit. Oh, be careful. Ouch. Anyway, it's such a shame. I was so hoping to throw a party for Ginny tonight, but you won't be able to come, will you? Don't look like I'm going to be going nowhere for a while. You ordered the judge Patter. I guess I have to make amends for apparently and all them offenses. What was it again? Breaking and entering, taking the Trogger stuff. What was in lug? Blah blah blah. Yes, I think you'll find that basically being a pickpocket is the main offense. But divine ain't an offense. It's a job, isn't it? I don't think so. Still, it's got me thinking all this. Maybe I should start looking for another line of work. I mean, you didn't start off as a lawyer, did you, Odo? Well, no. But I was never a pickpocket. Well, anyway, I reckon I could make a change. I'm gonna do something for all of them, a lot like me from the slums, something that makes a difference for them. That's a wonderful idea, Ginny, and I'm sure you can do it. What is it? Nothing. Miss Gina Lestrade. The prison carriage has arrived, madam. Come with me to the rear gate at once. Right. Well, looks like I'm off. I'm off then. Yes, goodbye, Gina. And good luck. Odo? Yes? Ah! What was that for? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say, so... Ah, indeed. Perhaps the situation calls for a phrase hitherto missing from your vocabulary, Miss Lestrade. Eh? On occasions such as this, I would recommend a simple thank you. Oh. Oh yes, it's a good advice, Nanny. Right, I see. Well. Oh, she took her hat off. Thanks, Odo. Thank you for everything, what you've done. For believing me. Not at all. In fact, that should be my line. Thank you, Gina. Well, there she goes. I wonder if I'll ever see her again. Well, well. Quite the indomitable pick-purse. Oh, I nearly forgot. I brought a paper outside. It's special edition. This child's all over the front page. Pickpocket, innocent, proven. Isn't it wonderful? Should have shown it to Gina, Iris. She would have been thrilled. Oh no, how silly of me. Ah, but anyway, would you like to see the good news or the bad news? Oh, not again. Well, what do you say, Bruno? Hurley? As usual, I think I'd rather get the bad news out of the way first. Absolutely not. I have no intention of listening to anything but good news. And there you have it. How people answer that question says a lot about them, doesn't it? Let's not go there. Alright then, maybe let's start with the good news this time. The rain has finally stopped. It was a record level rainfall, apparently. Well, that is good news indeed. We can journey back in greater comfort. Alright then, what's the bad news? Huge storm has left the seas very choppy. The channel in particular is awful, so sailing out of Dover has been delayed for a day or more. Wait, Dover? That's right. If we head to the station immediately, we may still have time to wave Susie off. But there won't be a train, surely. We couldn't be that lucky. Who do you think I am, Mr. Naruhodo? Mr. Sholmes? I rushed to Victoria Station earlier and made an arrangement for a special express. Hurry now, we shall be there in time for dinner. And I know of a fine restaurant that serves the most delicious baked sole. I don't. The great detective does it again. Indeed he does. I happen to be aware of the number of the rail transport director's foibles. What? I merely made a knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily laid on the locomotive elementary. Just an idea, but it might be wise to stop manipulating people that way. Where are we waiting for then? To London, Victoria. Will we get an answer out of her about the manuscript finally then? That took somewhat longer than I anticipated. Susie's boat must be about to leave now. Miss Susato, where are you? Over there, look. Looks like she's reading something. She's had to stand here all day.
Hold it!
Miss Susato, wait! What are you doing? Mr. Naruhodo, what are you doing here? We came here as soon as we could after the trial. I mean, I heard the sailings were being delayed due to the bad weather, you see. Oh, I see. Then tell me, how did Jeannie's trial go? It went well. She was acquitted. That's wonderful. Really wonderful news. The book you were about to throw into the sea. It was your Encyclopedia of British Law, wasn't it? Oh dear. I was hoping you hadn't seen that. I'm not worthy of practicing law in any way now. I was saying my final farewell. You're saying goodbye to law? You? Susato-san? Would it be correct in assuming it's because of the peephole, Miss Susato? I deliberately altered the scene of a crime, and then I tried to hide the fact. What I did is utterly unforgivable. That reminds me. How did you even come to have this Susie? On the evening of the incident, Mr. Sholmes had invited Gina to dinner, if you remember. Oh yes, we had a wonderful time. Well, Gina gave us a little introductory lesson, didn't she? The art of pickpocketing, I mean. Oh, that was so much fun. I stole Bruno's armband. Yes, please don't do that again, Iris. That band's very important to me. Well, if it's so important, you should pay more attention to it. You didn't notice for ages. On a whim, I thought it'd be fun to see if I could take the cat flop-o-matic, so I put it up my sleeve. Really? Then I rather forgot about it until I found myself in Mr. Windybake's shop later that night. I see. And then... Ah! Mr. Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes! Leave me, Mr. Naruhodo. Right. After Mr. Naruhodo had left the shop, I started to think. The door started to play on my mind. Storeroom door, you mean? Yes, if Gina was anywhere in the shop, I realized it could only be behind that door. At that moment, the little device that I had up to my sleeve sprang to mind. I was so worried about Gina, I simply had to know. So you used the cat flop-o-matic to make a peephole in the door. As captured in a photograph print of the shop by one of Hurley's red-handed recorders. Indeed, it was of the first importance at that point. Precisely when the peephole was made, that information would prove to be Mr. Naruhodo's greatest weapon. Though naturally, without proof, it would have amounted to nothing. But when I looked through the peephole in the door, the sight that met my eyes made my blood run cold. Thoughts started to run through my mind. I remembered the trial 2 months earlier, the trial of Magnus McGilded. I thought about how he had manipulated the evidence and arranged false testimony to secure his freedom. It made the British justice system feel so dark and sinister to me. And then a terrible thought occurred to me. What if some wicked criminal had planned to do the same thing now? Because from the appearance of the crime scene, it looks exactly as though Gina had shot Mr. Windybank. Even though I was sure she'd never have done such a thing, you were worried that the true culprit would try to frame her for the crime. That's right, but then I realized it would be very difficult for anyone to give false testimony in this case. What do you mean? Well, the crime appeared to have happened behind the door of the locked room. For someone to claim falsely to have witnessed it, there would have only had to be a way to see beyond the door. Ah. For which a peephole would be the very thing. Only the peephole I had made wasn't actually there until after the crime had been committed, of course. The criminal wouldn't know that, so I wouldn't make any difference. But the possibility of a rather ingenious trap was there, was it not? A trap? Is that why she did it? So, is that why you kept it secret, Susie? You never mentioned that you made the peephole to anyone, not even to the police? I know. And I knew at the time that I was doing my wrong, criminal offense even. So I decided to confide in Mr. Sholmes. If Mr. Naruhodo was completely backed into a corner with no other possible means of escape, the truth about the people could save him. That was my plan. She really does think of everything. But then, why didn't you just tell me everything before the trial began? My dear fellow, you're not thinking straight. If she had done that, it would have rendered you complicit with the whole... I missed the word. Ah. You could have been disbarred if you'd been seen to have knowingly tampered with a crime scene. So Miss Susato decided to shoulder the burden of the responsibility alone. For your sake and Miss Lestrade's. Miss Susato. The truth is, when it happened, I did it because I lost a little of my faith in the law. Oh. I was worried that the right person wouldn't be convicted of the crime. But the moment I allowed myself to think that is the moment I lost my right to call myself a judicial assistant. What you did isn't comparable to what he did. Graydon is the one who lied in the witness stand, using that peephole as a way to implicate Gina. And besides, if the people inconsistency hadn't existed, I'm not at all sure she would have been acquitted in the end. Miss Susato, what you did saved Gina's life. Well, with your kind words, Mr. Naruhodo, you've saved me too, from my regrets. Well, we must all be thankful that Miss Lestrade's freedom has been assured. Yes, exactly. Though some of the loose ends in the trial will continue to play on our minds, I'm sure. But the revelation that the music box contains secret messages, Mr. Naruhodo. What a triumph to work that out. I'm full of admiration. Well, actually, that argument wasn't quite as compelling as I thought it was. Oh, it wasn't? There was a communications officer among the jury members, you see. Telegraph operator. She said that the majority of the sounds on the disc were just meaningless tones. As one would expect, after all, we're talking about a secret government communications. Note that they were written in cipher to avoid being readily understood should they be intercepted. In cipher? I see. So then we could never have hoped to understand the message anyway. Nonsense, my dear fellow. It's quite a zero pipe problem, I assure you. G? What? Well, that can't be a real word, can it? How funny. Wait. Iris, what did you say? Oh, I just said Asagi. Does that word mean something to you? Means something. Asagi was the name of my best friend. What? But how? How do you know that name, Iris? I wrote it down during the trial before, when the message was playing on the music box. She transcribed it on the fly? She really is a genius. I thought the message probably wouldn't be written down in plain Morse code, so I tried various ways to interpret it. But whatever I tried, the words just didn't seem to make any sense. That is, in English at least. Oh. It suddenly occurred to me, you see, there's more to one Morse code, not just the English variety. Various countries around the world have all altered and added to the Morse code to use in their own language. I don't believe it. Are you saying... That's right. I've only actually seen a chart of Japanese Morse code once before. I think it's based on the Iroha pentagram, isn't it? You mean to say that in Japanese Morse code, the message said Asagi? Yes, I think so. Sorry, but I don't remember all the Japanese Morse code. Iris, would you let me see that? Mrs. Sato, do you know it? Do you know Japanese Morse code? Yes, I spent some time studying it. Because I'm quite sure Morse code will become ever more important for the international communication. Then might I recommend, my dear madam, that you focus your efforts on the English version. Be that as it may, Iris, show me the message, please. Of course. But what can this possibly mean? Whatever it is in that long sequence of supposedly meaningless dots and dashes, it's made the color drain from Susato-san's face. There's no doubt that this message is written in Japanese Morse code. So the British Empire has been using Japanese for its secret communication? I don't understand the reason why, but the message appears to be a list of 4 people's names. 4 names. The first is K. Asagi. Kazuma? Why? What's his name on that disc? The second is A. Shin. Shin? I don't recognize that name. Third is T. Gregson? Gregson? Ah, it would seem Tobias Gregson is the 3rd man on the list. What's his name doing in secret government communication as well? And the last name... What's the matter, Miss Susato? It's just so strange, so unexpected. Oh, what is it, Susie? Just don't keep us in suspense. The last name is J. Wilson. What? Wilson? John H. Wilson? You mean Daddy? It says only J. H. Wilson, so I'm afraid I can't be sure. Then, after the 4 names, it reads, if I translate from Japanese, that is all 4. And that's the end of the message, or rather, the end of what you noted down, Iris. I just can't believe it. Who would ever have thought that those discs contained Japanese Morse code, not to mention a strange list of some disturbingly familiar names? It would appear that this particular message is a communication of some kind between Great Britain and the Empire of Japan. So Daddy could be in Japan then. Where's Susie and Rooney come from? Oh, well... no. It's not very likely, really, is it? I mean, there are thousands of people with the surname Wilson. There must be a lot of J's among them. Professor John H. Wilson, visiting professor of medicine at Paralleluna University. But we can't tell Iris about that now. We just can't. This is so strange. Somehow, in solving the case of Mr. Windybank's murder today, I feel like we've rolled past the back of Boulder of the mouth of a very dark cave. I do wonder if perhaps it's a dark cave that we shouldn't go wandering inside. Oh dear, the ship is going to set sail soon. Yes, it seems so. I'll sail onto the steamship first to the Port Dunkirk in France. Then I'll change to a larger passenger vessel bound for Japan. You're really going then, Susie? We wish you a safe passage, Miss Susato. Thank you so much. I wish you all the very best. Miss Susato, I had hoped to have you always at my side to guide me and support me. Mr. Naruhodo, please come back soon. As far as I'm concerned, you really are the very best judicial assistant in the world. Don't flip me, girl. I'm quite sure I'll be back before you know it. Really, Susie? Oh, now don't you forget, Iris. I made you a promise I've yet to fulfill. Promise? About your manuscript? Ah. Oh yes, the Hound of the Baskervilles. Well, I'll be waiting for you then, Susie. A promise is a promise. Definitely, Iris. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes. Do you remember the first time we met? Yes, of course. On the SS Burrow when I was dragged out from the wardrobe. Still have sleep. No, you met before that. If I remember right, you threw me halfway across the cabin with the Susasu takedown. No, we bet you with your daddy. You know very well what I'm talking about after that. It's strange, but being thrown together as we were in that case, I somehow felt straight away that you were the perfect person to continue Kazuma-sama's greatest legacy. Miss Susato, and my instincts were right. I really want to believe. No, I'm sure that. I'll be back soon. Farewell until then. Very long chapter.
Somehow we seem to have come to the end of the adventures of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Or the first volume, at least. Looking back now, it feels as though fate has led me on this journey. Fate led me to becoming a lawyer, to traveling halfway around the world, to meeting the great detective. I'm sure there'll be trials and tribulations ahead. Of course there will. But whatever happens, I know I'll be able to turn my fortunes around. After all, I have the greatest friends in the world on my side.
Hello. Ah, yes. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, Mr. Sholmes? I have some rather awkward news. The railway company has decided to sue over the special express train, apparently. Huh? It caused such a commotion on the line. All the other trains had to wait at stations. But really, we would never have made it to Dover in time otherwise. Anyways, I explained everything and how it was all your fault. Huh? I believe a formal complaint should be delivered to your office tomorrow. But not to worry, my dear fellow. According to Miss Susato, you love defending yourself in court. Ah ha ha ha! That's alright. I'm perfectly happy to testify. You really didn't look like the sort of man who'd do something that's so outrageous. See? Mr. Sholmes. Yes? A word, if you don't mind? Why, certainly. Any word you like. Fill it out, my dear fellow. Oh, yes. I love Runo's words. I know just the one he'll use here. Then, I really must say...
Objection!
Objection! Perfect. That wraps up that. It definitely has some loose ends, which does make me wonder if it's going to unlock a second set, like a part 2 of the game, in which if it does, I'm going to have to decide whether or not I'm going to pre-record them and have them come up during my maternity leave, or if I'm just going to wait until I come back from maternity leave and stream them again. Because I'm not going to be streaming probably any more of the chapters on this. Can I skip this? Pause it. Pause. Oh yeah, we can skip it. Yeah, we'll skip it. Let's see what it does. Are we still in the credits? Yeah. Well, I'm sure it looks cool, and they do have a tab for credits, but who knows how long. The Great Ace Attorney Adventures. Finished. Feeling fleeting farewell. Achievement unlocked. Let me see here. Nope. Okay. So we do have these, but I don't know if this is what. Let me see here real quick. Let me see here. It just starts back where it was at. Oh, just taking us back to there. Well, I'll look into it a little bit more. Like, because I see, I don't know. I don't see. Go back, yeah. I don't see where it actually says, like, to start the second game. Which is kind of crazy, though. But I hope you've all enjoyed this. I may make a special video where we go through all these. And if I do find that there is a second game to this, there will be recordings of it. I do not know yet, though, if it'll come up during my maternity leave or during, or afterwards. So, but I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for everyone who stopped in, and I'll see you all next time in another episode of something, but it's probably going to be a little bit before I stream again. So I'll see y'all later, and I will be back eventually. Okay, bye everyone. Okay, so I found it. You hit select adventure, takes you to the screen. You have arrows here, click one of them. Here's a whole second game. So what I'm thinking, since we beat the first game, this is the second game. This will be a game we'll probably do after I come back from maternity leave. We'll have fun with it next time around. Hopefully my throat does better next time around than it did for the first game, but it will be fun to play next time. I'm glad to see we have a second game. I love these games. So I will see you all next time in another episode of something else. Okay, bye everyone.